Good afternoon, everyone. I call to order today's meeting of the Boston City Council. My name is Ruthie Louis-Jeanne, and I am the president of the Boston City Council. Viewers can watch the council meeting live on YouTube at boston.gov/city-council-TV. At this time, I ask my colleagues and those in the audience to please silence their cell phones and electronic devices. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll to ascertain the presence of a quorum?
Councilor Durkin. Here. Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Here. Councilor Fitzgerald. Here. Councilor Flynn. Councilor Louis-Jeanne.
Present.
Councilor Mejia. Present. Councilor Murphy. Present. Councilor Pepin. Present. Councilor Santana. Present. Councilor Weber.
I can't hear.
And Councilor Worrell. Here. A quorum is present.
Thank you. I have been informed by the clerk that a quorum is present. At this time, I ask for all councilors and guests to please rise for the invocation. After the invocation, please remain standing as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilor Braden will now introduce her guests for the invocation.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to have invited the Reverend Mariama White Hammond to deliver the invocation for our meeting today. She is the founding pastor of New Roots African Methodist Episcopal Church in Dorchester. Unfortunately, the Reverend is feeling under the weather today, but we are grateful for her willingness to still join us virtually to offer a blessing. The Reverend Mariama White Hammond was appointed the Chief of Environment, Energy and Open Space on April 2021 and oversees the city's programs on energy, climate change, sustainability, historic preservation and open space. During this time, her achievements with the city have included supporting the amendment of the Building Emissions Reduction and Disclosure Ordinance, BERDO, to set carbon targets for existing large buildings and conveying a city-led Youth Green Jobs programme. She has an extensive background in embedding equity and environmental justice into our communities. Born and raised in Boston, she began her community engagement in high school working as a peer health educator. She was particularly shaped by her involvement in Project Hip Hop, Highways into the Past, History, Organising and Power, a youth organisation focused on teaching civil rights movement history and engaging a new generation of young people in activism. After college, she served as the executive director of Project Hip Hop for 13 years. After earning a master's degree in divinity from Boston University School of Theology, she was ordained an elder in the African Methodist Episcopal Church and founded New Roots AME Church. And we're very pleased to welcome Reverend Mariama Hammond to give us our invocation today. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. I ask that you would take a posture of prayer. God, we thank you because we are in this first month of this new year. And God, we take this moment to be thankful for the fact that we made it into this new year. There are some for whom 2023 was their final resting place. And so we do take this moment to thank you for the fact that you have brought us into a new year. And we thank you for the fact that each new year gives us an opportunity to ask who we are called to be and how we move more closely to your vision for our lives and our city. God, we pray that you would endow this council with vision. God, that you would help them to set the direction for this new year. That you would bring them together to move forward those things that are important to our communities, and that you would give them wisdom. That you would help them to know how to make tough choices around the resources we have in time and money, how they will find the balance between all of the competing concerns so that they can move us forward together. God, I pray that you would fill that council chamber with a sense of collaboration and respect. That folks would see each other. That they would recognize that each of them is there just trying to do the best that they can for the folks that they represent. And that they would find opportunities not to have competing agendas, but to find those places where we can lift up our city as a whole. God, I also pray that you would imbue them with a deep and abiding love, particularly for those who you love the most, the least, the lost, those who have found themselves on the outs of society, those who don't have anyone to speak for them, those who others might see as a burden, but that you see as the most important people. We lift up our young people, our seniors, those who are recent migrants, those who are living on our street, struggling with addiction, those who may have lost jobs and employment. God, these are the people that you think about, that you long to see move forward. And so we pray that you would give wisdom to this council to lift up those folks, our neighbors, our loved ones, our family. And so, God, as we are still in this new month, the science often tells us that our resolutions go out the door by February. But I pray that you would help them each to set intentions to be their best selves, not just for themselves, but for all of us. Our country needs powerful, loving, and wise leadership at this time more than ever. So we pray that that spirit of wisdom and love would flow through the council, that it will give them the vision to move our city forward in a direction that makes us truly a beacon, not just to our nation, but to the world, of how we can be a city on a hill, a city that holds each and every resident as precious. We ask all of this in your name, by whatever name which we know you. For me, it is Jesus the Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Mariama White Hammond. We will now recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now be seated. We now have a presentation from Councilor and Vice President Worrell honoring Larry Ellison, and after that we will have Councilor Coletta, along with myself, for a presentation honoring Mary Beth Kelly. Vice President, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call Larry Ellison to the dais. I'm proud to present this citation to Larry Ellison, who earlier this month retired after 4 decades working in the Boston Police Department. Born and raised in Roxbury, He attended BPS during the time of forced busing and was the first Black person elected as school president of South Boston High. He started working at BPD as a cadet when he was 19 years old in 1982, serving from then until his retirement on January 5th of this year. He served as the president of the Massachusetts Association of Minority Law Enforcement Officers for 12 years and has also served on the Post Commission. Additionally, he has been honored as a hero among us by the Boston Celtics and now by the Boston City Council, and was recently recognized by State Senator Nick Collins. He long advocated for equal rights for minority officers and has won appeals against unfair practices and promotional processes at the city and state levels. For the past 12 years, he's worked with schools, impacting the lives of young people throughout the city, and even in retirement, he's still helping our youth, currently working on a violence reduction program with the Boston Public Schools. While 4 decades at BPD might seem to be an enormous career commitment, there's one place he served longer, and it speaks to Larry Ellison's heart, which is a big brother mentor since the age of 18. And similar to many surrogates and mentors who paved the path for him, he has helped kids for more than 4 decades. I'm delighted to honor Larry Ellison today for his work in our community, our police department, and with our youth. Larry Ellison.
Oh, wow. Thank you all. It's quite an honor. Thank you, Councilor Worrell, for acknowledging and recognizing me today. I see a very diverse city council here. As I said, I went to South Boston back in the 80s. That's not something I would see. So I'm very proud of the strides that Boston has made. And we see it here as our president of the council. So I just want to say this. I'm not going to take up much of your time. It has been quite an honor to serve the citizens of the city of Boston for the last 41 years of my life. I said to some folks, the city has gotten most of my years, but my family will get the best years of my life. But I still feel I have something to contribute to the city of Boston, and I intend to do that in my retirement because having working in the schools for the last 12 years, our young people are our most valuable investment, and I feel a lot of times they're the ones who are underserved. You know, we have a huge budget that gets passed out of the city council of almost $1.4 billion. But honestly, having been on the inside, I'm not seeing the improvements that we should be seeing with that investment. So I will continue to do my part, but I look forward to working with all of you, in making sure that our most valuable investment, our young people, are served here in the city of Boston. Again, thank you for this honor. It's quite an honor, Councilor, and I appreciate all of your time today. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry, for your service to the city. Can my colleagues please join me for a photo up the dais? Larry, thank you so much for your service to the city and to our young people, and for reminding us that we still have work to do. Ben, Councilor Weber would like to say a few words. It's not his maiden speech, and we're limited to 5 minutes per counselor, per person that we honor. So Councilor Weber will keep his remarks brief, but you now have the floor, Councilor Weber. Hit your mic. Hit the button. Okay.
Okay, I'll be brief, thank you. This is not my maiden speech, but I had the pleasure of representing Larry Ellison in the police exam cases here in Boston and across the state. And, Sergeant Ellison did an incredible job working for the Boston Police Department, but he also did an incredible job fighting for a more equitable city and a more equitable society here. And people should recognize not just his service as a police officer, but his hard work in representing Mamleo and in being an advocate for a more equitable Boston. And so I think everyone here, whether they dealt with Sergeant Ellison or not, owes him a great debt for his work, not only in the police department, but, in fighting for a more just city. So I just want to thank Larry for his work, and, I think I'm a better person for having known Larry Ellison and getting to work for him. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will now call up Councillor Coletta to honor Mary Beth Kelly. And I'll just say briefly, Mary Beth, thank you so much for your service to our city, to how you've cared for our seniors, and from the generation of powerhouse of women that you come from in Charlestown. So thank you for being with us today. Thank you to your nephew, Jack Kelly, who made sure we all got the article and can honor your family. So without further ado, Councillor Coletta.
Thank you so much, President Louis-Jean. Today is a special day because we have members of the Kelly family from Charlestown in the House, including Jack Kelly, former candidate for City Councilor at large. And I would love to ask Mary Beth to come to the dais if she can. We graciously asked the Kelly clan to join us today for today's council hearing because earlier this month, Mary Beth Kelly, a second generation caretaker of the elderly within this family, retired from the city of Boston after giving 28 years of service to our seniors at the Age Strong Commission. Please join me in giving her a round of applause. So Mary Beth is emblematic of what it means to be a public servant. She has organized a first night event for thousands of seniors at the World Trade Center in the Seaport, harbor cruises, even a multi-day senior Olympics. Mary Beth was most recently in charge of organizing events for seniors, which included a lot of transportation logistics, which means accessibility for our seniors. For further proof of her impact and influence here in the city, her peers ensured that she won a Shattuck Award given to city workers for outstanding public service just a few years ago. Of course, this was not the only role that Mary Beth took on. She is the mother of 3 children, Megan, Kathleen, and Ryan, and 5 grandchildren. She has been described by her brother Brian as someone who has the heart the size of Texas. Before I present this citation, I want to call attention to the fact, as Councillor Louis-Jean mentioned, that within this family, there are 3 generations of women who have dedicated their professional lives to helping older adults as they age. 95-year-old Betty Kelly, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today, is the matriarch of this large family. She first started at the Kennedy Center. She helped organize activities for seniors and helped launch a home care service where residents would help clean and offer companionship to adults as they aged. We have her daughter, Mary Beth, of course, and I want to shout out Mary Beth's daughter, Megan Kelly, who is here today, who is doing an amazing job as the director of the Beverly Gibbons Senior Center in Charlestown. In a time where we are becoming more and more disconnected from one another, especially so during COVID, these 3 women have ensured that seniors are connected to each other and their community. As a city, we are indebted to their service, and so on behalf of the City Council, it is my great honor to present to you the citation that's over there. I'm so sorry. Someone can grab that for me. To present this citation recognizing your dedication and years of service to the City of Boston. Congratulations. Let's give a round of applause for Mary Beth.
Thank you so much, but you haven't seen the last of me. You'll see me around this hall. Thank you.
Thank you. If we can invite the Kelly family up to take some photos.
And my colleagues as well.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Front and center. Thank you. Okay, cool. I had some help. He gave me some points. Okay, Kelly family.
Come on up, family. You're centered.
Megan Kelly.
No, come on up.
Yeah, get in the middle, I know.
Hey, you're not my boss no more.
Your daughter, tell her to come to the middle.
Get you, son.
Are you good? 1 second, come on.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was awesome. Great job. Seriously. That was a good little. My cousin Ryan used to.
Now, on to the first order of business, which is the approval of the minutes from the meeting of January 1st, 2024. We are in a brief recess. We are now back in session. Now on to the first order of business, which is the approval of the minutes from the meeting of January 1st, 2024. Are there any corrections? Councilor Coletta, you now have the floor.
Thank you, President. I move to amend the minutes to reflect the assignment of docket 0133, the Boston Landmarks Commission, of the designation of the Richardson Block in downtown Boston to the Committee of the Whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta. Is that docket number 0123?
I have docket 0133, but it's 0123. Okay. Thank you for the correction, Clerk.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta. Is there a second on that motion? All in favor? All opposed? The ayes have it. The minutes of the last meeting as amended stand as approved. Mr. Clerk, could you please take dockets number 0155 and number 0165 out of order?
Reports of public officers and others, docket number 0155. Communication was received from City Council President Ruth Z. Lujan detailing the named chairs, vice chairs, and voting members of the Boston City Council's standing committees for 2024 through 2025 term.
Thank you, Clerk. Docket number 0155 will be placed on file.
And docket number 0165, Councilor Lujan offered the following. Order that the rules of the Boston City Council be adopted for municipal years 2024 through 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The chair seeks suspension of the rules and passage of docket number 0165. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The order is passed. We are now moving on to communications from Her Honor the Mayor. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0134?
Docket number 0134, message and order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $13,317,200 in the form of a grant from the fiscal year 2023 Urban Area Security Initiative awarded by the United States Department of Homeland Security, passed through the Mass Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, to be administered by the Mayor's Office of Emergency Management. The grant will fund planning, exercise, trainings, and operational needs that will help prevent, respond to, and recover from the threats of acts of terrorism, including chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and explosive incidents.
Thank you, Clerk. This docket will be assigned to the Committee on Public Safety and Criminal Justice and Public Safety. Vice Chair, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This docket is a holdover from our previous term, where several of our council colleagues had some lingering questions, which I now believe have been answered. I've also been in communication with BPD and have been informed that as of now, the delay has not caused any operational issues within the department. And as Vice Chair of the Committee on Public Safety, I would like suspension and passage of docket number 0134. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. With the consent of the Chair, would anyone like to speak on this matter? Councillor Braden, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think in our previous session, I voted against accepting and expending this.
Oh, sorry. Apologies. Ricky error. You're going to start all over in 1 second. There you go.
Thank you. In the previous session, I voted against suspending and expending this grant, this significant grant of over $13 million, because there was some inconsistency between the chairman's report and the actual docket itself. So that it did include, the chairman's report did include natural disasters, so that was something that I hope that we have clarified going forward. And I'm going to vote in support of this with this clarification of that point.
Thank you, Councillor Braden. Councillor Fernandez Anderson for your point of clarification.
Thank you, Madam President. Councillor, to my colleague, what is the clarification?
In the chairman's report.
Councillor Braden, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the chairman's report in our last meeting in December, the report included natural disasters as a focus of this grant, and I think the docket does not mention natural disasters, so I think we're dealing with the original language of the docket going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Braden. Councillor Murphy, you now have the floor. One moment, I got to turn it on.
Thank you. Thank you. I voted in favor of this when it first came forward, so I'm looking forward to passing this. But I do have questions of what questions were answered and which clarity, because I'm not aware of what. I know that some of my colleagues, when we went to vote for it, did have questions. So I think it's important that all of us know what questions were asked that weren't in, well, for all of us to be aware of, and what those answers were. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy.
Yeah, I think it's important to know before we take a vote.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Councillor Mejia, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and I appreciate the Vice Chair's recommendation. I believe that this is a new term, this is a new year, this is a new way we're going to do business, and I think in the spirit of transparency, I think it's really important for us to also recognize that we have an entire new council, and I think that this amount, given the significant amount that it is, requires us to be as fiscally responsible as possible, and I would recommend that we have a hearing in which we can really unpack the questions that still may linger, so that way when we're making a vote, we're making an informed vote, understanding all of the things that are at play. So I think given the amount, and I think given the uncertainty and the lack of clarity that so many of us still have from the previous administration to now this new one that we're walking into, I think that if we really want to restore trust in government, then I think that we should start modeling that behavior in our first big vote, and doing so in the most transparent way. So I would recommend that we put this in committee and have an official hearing where we have the opportunity to really unpack things further. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mejia. Councillor Durkin, you now have the floor. Wait, one moment.
Thank you so much, President Louis-Jean. I'm planning to vote in support today, unless unless we are not having a vote today, I'm planning to vote in support. I supported this before. This has been a non-controversial grant for the region. And I think there was a lot going on the last meeting where this was handled. But since then, my office has received a lot of emails about why it would be important to fund this grant for the region. And as my colleague, Councillor Worrell, said, there has been not an operational issue with if it was funded today. I'm not sure if that were the case if it were funded at a further meeting. I believe that we should suspend and pass this grant today, and I'll be voting in support if we do.
Thank you, Councillor Durkin. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? So the Vice Chair seeks suspension of the rules. Okay. She has to make a motion. Okay. Is there a motion on the floor to send this matter to committee?
There is a motion that I have asked, and I'm making it formal. Yes, let's send this to committee.
Thank you. Is there a second? This matter will be sent to committee. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0135?
Docket number 0135, message and order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $5 million in the form of a grant for the Aquatics Facilities Grant awarded by the United States Department of the Treasury, passed through the Mass Department of Conservation and Recreation, to be administered by Property Management. The grant will fund the repairs and maintenance of aquatic facilities.
Thank you. Docket number 0135 will be referred to the Committee on Environmental Justice, Resiliency, and Parks. Mr. Clerk, will you please read docket number 0136?
Docket number 0136, message and order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $700,000 in the form of a grant for the Commercial Acquisition Assistance Program awarded by the Barr Foundation, to be administered by the Mayor's Office of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion. The grant will fund core support to its Office of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion to grow its impact.
Thank you. Docket number 0136 will be referred to the Committee on Small Business and Professional Licensure. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0137?
Docket number 0137, message and order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $659,990 in the form of a grant for the Energy Efficiency Conservation Block Grant awarded by the United States Department of Energy, to be administered by the Environment Department. The grant will fund state and local governments and tribes in implementing strategies to reduce energy use, to reduce fossil fuel emissions, and to improve energy efficiency.
Thank you. Docket number 0137 will be referred to the Committee on Environmental Justice, Resiliency, and Parks. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0138?
Docket number 0138, message and order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $146,089.77 in the form of a grant for fiscal year 23 Violence Against Women Act, a STOP grant awarded by the United States Department of Justice, passed through the Mass Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, to be administered by the Police Department. The grant will fund a civilian domestic violence advocate who provides services for victims in Jamaica Plain, East Boston, and Charlestown, as well as overtime for all civilian domestic violence advocates citywide.
Thank you. Docket number 0138 will be referred to the Committee on Strong Women, Families, and Communities. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0139?
Docket number 0139, message and order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $59,268 in the form of a grant for fiscal year 23 BJA Justice and Mental Health Collaboration Program awarded by the United States Department of Justice, passed through the University of Massachusetts, to be administered by the Police Department. The grant will fund the connection of BPD data with data from BMC's Boston Emergency Services Team, so that we can better understand the impact of co-response, mental health, and law enforcement in Boston.
Thank you. The Vice Chair of the Committee on Public Safety, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Madam President. This is a small dollar amount. I'd like to suspend and pass the $59,268 grant for FY23 BJA Justice and Mental Health Collaboration Program. This is a small grant to strengthen the connection of BPD data with BMC's Boston's Emergencies Services Team, also known as the BEST team, for the betterment of our community. So as Vice Chair, as Public Safety, I would like to suspend and pass this grant. Thank you.
Thank you. The Vice Chair of the Committee on Public Safety seeks suspension of the rules and passage of docket number 0139. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Thank you. Docket number 0139 is passed. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0140?
Docket number 0140, message and order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $50,000 in the form of a grant for the SFY 2024 JAG Alert awarded by the United States Department of Justice, passed through the Mass Executive Office of Public Safety and Security, to be administered by the Police Department. The grant will fund certification of all BPD Police Academy instructors through the 5-day AAIR the trainer course at the Alert Advanced Law Enforcement Rapid Response Training Center at Texas State University.
The Chair recognizes the Vice Chair of the Committee on Public Safety. With the consent of the Chair.
Thank you, Madam President. Again, another small dollar amount, $50,000 grant from the United States Department of Justice for the SFY 2024 JAG Alert. This is a small funding that will certify all BPD Police Academy instructors, reinforcing our commitment to excellence in law enforcement training. So as Vice Chair of the Committee on Public Safety, looking for suspension and passage of this grant.
The Vice Chair of the Committee on Public Safety seeks suspension of the rules and passage of docket number 0140. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Thank you. Docket number 0140 has passed. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0141?
Docket number 0141, message and order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend the amount of $45,000 in the form of a grant from the Accelerating Climate Resilience Grant Program awarded by the Massachusetts Metropolitan Area Planning Council to be administered by the Mayor's Office of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion. The grant will fund the acceleration of climate resilience in Boston through the Building Resilience through Immersive Education and Training Project.
Thank you. Docket number 0141. The Chair recognizes Councilor Coletta.
Thank you, President Louisiana. I move to suspend and pass this grant and ask my colleagues to consider the same. It's a grant that is a small dollar amount and will assist with the climate resiliency efforts here in the City of Boston. We've seen the devastating impacts of climate change just within the last week, so the urgency is here, and just ask my colleagues to support this offer to suspend and pass. Thank you.
Thank you. The Chair of the Environmental Justice, Resiliency, and Parks Committee seeks suspension of the rules and passage of docket number 0141. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Thank you. Docket number 0141 has passed. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0142?
Docket number 0142, message and order authorizing the City of Boston to accept and expend a donation of $10,000 winter coats from Project Warmth in support of the migrant crisis.
The Chair of the Committee on Civil Rights and the Civil Rights, Racial Equity, and Immigrant Advancement Committee, do you seek suspension of the rules and passage of docket number 0142? Before we vote, would anyone like to say anything? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Thank you. Docket number 0142 has passed. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0143?
Docket number 0143, message and order that will authorize the Boston Transportation Department to enter into 2 contracts with terms of up to 10 years to deploy curbside electric vehicle charging stations through a public-private partnership at no cost to the city with a potential for revenue share. BTD has identified 2 vendors through the public procurement process that will offer different models that address the distinct challenges to locate curbside EV charging.
Thank you. Docket number 0143 will be referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. Mr. Clerk, would you please read dockets number 0144 to 0154?
Docket number 0144, message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Felicia Jakes as a member of the South End Landmark District Commission for a term expiring on January 20th, 2027. Docket number 0145, message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Thomas Rode as a member of the Fort Point Channel Landmark District Commission for a term expiring on January 20th, 2027. Docket number 0146, message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Catherine Hunt as a member of the South End Landmark District Commission for a term expiring January 20th, 2027. Docket number 0147, message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of John Freeman as a member of the South End Landmark District Commission for a term expiring January 20th, 2027. Docket number 0148, message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of John Amodeo as a member of the South End Landmark District Commission for a term expiring on January 20th, 2027. Docket number 0149, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Terry North as a member of the Back Bay West Bay State Road Architectural Conservation District Commission for a term expiring on January 15th, 2027. Docket number 150, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Christopher DeBoard as a member of the South End Landmark District Commission for a term expiring on January 20th, 2027. Docket number 0151, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Pamela Beal as a member of the Back Bay West Bay State Road Architectural Conservation District Commission for a term expiring on January 15, 2027. Docket number 0152, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Ruel Longfellow as a member of the Bay State Road Back Bay West Area Architectural Conservation District Commission for a term expiring on January 15, 2027. Docket number 0153, message in order for the confirmation of the reappointment of Lynn Smilage as a member of the Fort Point Channel Landmark District Commission for a term expiring on January 20th, 2027. And docket number 0154, message in order for the confirmation of the appointment of Jeffrey Hine as a member of the Fort Point Channel Landmark District Commission for a term expiring January 20th, 2027.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Dockets number 0156 to 0164 will be placed on file. We are now moving on to motions, orders, and resolutions. We have a lot of dockets today, and for the sake of brevity, I ask that council members submitting refiles. Oh, did I? Oh, okay, sorry. We are now on to reports of public officers and others. Mr. Clerk, please read dockets number 0156 to 0164.
Docket number 0156, communication was received for Congressman Jake Auchincloss urging the Boston City Council to approve the $13.3 million Urban Area Security Initiative funded grant to the Metro Boston Homeland Security Region by the United States Department of Homeland Security. Docket number 0157, communication was received from the Police Commissioner in accordance with Section 3 of the Boston Trust Act regarding civil immigration detainer results for calendar year 2023. Docket number 0158, notice was received from the mayor of the appointment of Rachel Goldstein as a trustee of the Make Boston Shine Trust Fund for a term expiring January 9th, 2026. Docket number 0159, notice was received from the mayor of the reappointment of John Romano as a trustee of the Make Boston Shine Trust Fund for a term expiring January 9th, 2026. Docket number 0160, notice was received from the mayor of the reappointment of Kevin Tran as a trustee of the Make Boston Shine Trust Fund for a term expiring January 9th, 2026. Docket number 0161, notice was received from the mayor of the reappointment of Brianna Milor as a trustee of the Make Boston Shine Trust Fund for a term expiring on January 9th, 2026. Docket number 0162, notice was received from the mayor the reappointment of Trin Nguyen as a trustee of the Neighborhood Jobs Trust for a term expiring on January 14, 2026. Docket number 10163, notice was received from the mayor the reappointment of Robert Whitney as a trustee of the Boston Groundwater Trust for a term expiring on January 22nd, 2026. And docket number 0164, notice was received from the mayor the reappointment of Janine Comerford as a trustee of the Boston Groundwater Trust for a term expiring on January 22nd, 2026.
Thank you. Dockets number 0156 to 0164 will be placed on file. We are now moving on to motions, orders, and resolutions. As I was saying before, we have a lot of dockets to get through today, so for the sake of brevity, I ask that council members submitting refiles limit their comments to only lead sponsors and under a minute. Of course, it's not a hard and fast rule, but I'd appreciate it so that we could get through everything that's on our docket. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Would you please read docket number 0166?
Docket number 0166, Councilor Coletta offered the following: an ordinance formally creating the Office of Food Justice and establishing a food recovery program in the city of Boston.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Coletta. Councilor, you have the floor.
Thank you so much, President Louis Jean. This is a refile from last year, and I just want to uplift the great work of former Councilor Ricardo Arroyo and his staff. So I'm really excited to continue this work and look forward to the conversations ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilor Braden, Durkin, Fernand Anderson, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Pippen, Councilor Santana, Councilor Weber, Councilor Worrell, and Councilor Mejia. And please add the chair. And Councilor Fitzgerald. Thank you. Docket number 0166 will be referred to the Committee on Government Operations. Per Rule 29, docket number 0167 is withdrawn. Mr. Clerk, would you please read dockets number 0168 and 0169?
Docket number 0168, Councilor Louis Jean offered the following: ordinance with respect to honeybees. And docket number 0169, Councilor Louis Jean offered the following: text amendment to the Boston zoning code with respect to honeybees.
Thank you, Clerk. The chair recognizes Councilor Louis Jean. Councilor Louis Jean, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This refile ordinance and zoning amendment would make it easier for our residents to become beekeepers in the city of Boston. Early on in the process of creating this ordinance, we explored different ways to make it easier to keep bees. However, due to the unwieldy nature of beekeeping being in the zoning code, every fix unintentionally created other issues in other parts of zoning. After much back and forth and discussion with the BPDA, we found that even if we made fixes to the zoning code with regard to keeping bees, they would still have to go before the ZBA for relief, which often requires a level of a skill that the average person should not have to have. Therefore, the combination ordinance and zoning seeks to move zoning code to municipal code and in the process simplify the regulations. We have held a hearing and working session on the topic, and the administration has been a great partner in this work. We have a few minor points to finish before I hope to get this to the full council very soon.
Thank you, Councilor Louis Jean. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Councilor Braden, Councilor Coletta, Councilor Durkin, Councilor Fernandez Anderson, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Pepin, Councilor Santana, Councilor Weber, and Councilor Worrell. Councilor Fitzgerald as well. Thank you. Docket number 0168 and docket number 0169 will be referred to the Committee on Government Operations. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Worrell. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0170?
Docket number 0170, Councilor Collette and Mejia offer the following: ordinance establishing street food enterprises in the City of Boston Municipal Code by inserting Chapter 17, Section 22, permitting and regulation of non-motorized street food carts.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councillor Coletta. Councillor, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. I'd like to add Councillor Worrell as a third co-sponsor, please.
Seeing no objections, seeing no exemption, Councillor Coletta seeks suspension of the rules to add Councillor Worrell as a third original co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, Councillor Worrell is added as a third co-sponsor. Councillor Coletta, you now have the floor.
Thank you so much. Again, this is a refile from last year. I'm really excited about this piece of legislation and gotten equal enthusiasm from the administration. This will remove red tape to permit street vendors in the City of Boston. It'll also adequately regulate this industry. This is really supposed to be an economic mobility tool for folks who want to kickstart their business but can't afford a food truck or a brick and mortar. It's really supposed to create vibrancy in neighborhood main streets and corridors. So I'm really looking forward to this and encourage everybody to come to the hearing and working sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coletta. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councillor Braden, Councillor Durkin, Councillor Fernandes-Anderson, Councillor Fitzgerald, Councillor Murphy, Councillor Pepin, Councillor Santana, Councillor Worrell, and please add the chair. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0171?
Docket number 0171, Councilor Worrell offered the following. Home rule petition to ensure future inauguration dates do not fall on a federal holiday.
Lots of snickering, I wonder why. Thank you. The chair recognizes Councillor Worrell. Councillor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I know many of us, if not all of us, had an incredible inauguration day, but I couldn't help but think of a couple things. The first thing is our public safety workers who might have been coming off a long New Year's Eve shift, either related to first night or general activity. And then second, that the civic engagement in the event of that magnitude, many for the first timers would likely be much higher on a weekday that's not a federal holiday. That's what this home rule petition does. It follows Congress's rule for the most part, which has its inauguration January 3rd, so it would never fall on either New Year's Day or its observed holiday. And the second step is to always have the inauguration fall on a weekday. To achieve this, we're using the term first weekday after the second day of January, as opposed to the first Monday of January, which our charter currently falls for. It's technical, but it ensures that the inauguration is always sometime between January 3rd to the 5th, as opposed to its current range, January 1st to the 7th. There are a couple technical aspects of this. When you change the inauguration date, you also have to change the municipal year-end date. Again, that municipal year can end between January 1st to the 7th. It would now end in the same time frame between January 3rd to the 5th. As we can't change our current terms, this goes into effect for the terms in municipal years starting the next election cycle. Looking forward to having this conversation to make sure that we're moving the inauguration date not to fall on a federal holiday to increase civic participation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Worrell. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? I'll just say that, as special as Inauguration Day being on Haitian Independence Day was for me, I support this measure because so much of our staff had to come here. And I also want to thank Councillor Worrell for the foresight of saying that because our central staff had to work that day, of working together to make sure that they could take that Friday off. So the Friday before MLK weekend. So thank you so much for that and for filing this as well. Would anyone like to add their name? Please add Councillor Braden, Councillor Coletta, Councillor Durkin, Councillor Fernandes-Anderson, Councillor Fitzgerald, Councillor Mejia, Councillor Pepin, Councillor Santana, Councillor Weber, and please add the chair. Thank you. Docket number 0171 will be referred to the Committee on Government Operations. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0172?
Docket number 0172, Councilor Worrell offered the following. Order for a hearing to create indoor playgrounds in the City of Boston.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Worrell. Councilor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Fernandes Anderson as original co-sponsor.
Seeing no objections, Councillor Fernandes Anderson has been added as an original co-sponsor. Councillor Worrell, you now have the floor.
Thank you. I'm happy to reintroduce this hearing order, emphasizing the need to establish indoor playgrounds across Boston. I have a 1-year-old, and it's hard to find places where he can have fun and play that's a public space, especially in the winter. Providing our children, youth, and infants with year-round access to safe and affordable spaces for physical activities is crucial for their holistic development. So I'm eager to explore this with Parks, BPL, and BCYF to see what we can do as a city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Worrell. Councillor Fernandes Anderson, you now have the floor. Well, you have to hit button.
Thank you, Madam President. And Councilor Worrell, thank you so much. I'm very honored to co-sponsor this. Agriculture to incorporate indoor playgrounds is amazing. Reminds me of where I grew up. Most third world countries have this already incorporated in their home or in their backyard, especially with more Spaniard or Grecian architecture. You find this sort of like indoor playground. We did some research about how to incorporate more green space in housing, or especially senior housing, and found that Japan does a lot of this sort of greenery slash playground slash green space indoors. Looking forward to seeing design ideas. I know that we used urban planning and design students, architect students from Northeastern University, and they came up with amazing renderings, ideas. I'm really excited to collaborate with you and your office to do this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fernandes Anderson. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anybody like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councillor Braden, Councillor Coletta, Councillor Durkin, Councillor Mejia, Murphy, Pepin, Santana, Weber, and please add the chair. Thank you. Docket number 0172 will be referred to the Committee on Environmental Justice, Resiliency, and Parks. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0173?
Docket number 0173, Councilor Worrell offer the following. Order for a hearing regarding equity in city contracts.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Worrell. Councilor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and I'm pleased to refile this critical hearing order addressing equity in city contracts, building on the foundation laid by Mayor Walsh and now Mayor Wu. So just looking forward to having this conversation to understand the progress that has currently been made. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Worrell. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Durkin, Fernandes Anderson, Fitzgerald, Mejia, Murphy, Santana, Weber, and please add the chair. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 01? Okay, right. Mr. Clerk, I would like to just go back to dockets number 0144 and 0154. Mariki, still learning, y'all. I accidentally said that this was going to be placed on file, but this needs to be with the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation, so I'm sending it to that committee. Thank you. Dockets number 0156 to 0164 will be placed with the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Okay. And thank you. Docket number 0173 will be referred to the Committee on Small Business and Professional Licensure. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0174?
Docket number 0174, Councilor Worrell offer the following. Order for a hearing to address gun violence.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Worrell. Councilor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And I stand before you all today deeply committed to this issue as we refile this hearing order. Last year we held this hearing order in community just to address the urgent matter of gun violence in our city. This is not just a statistic to me. These are lives, some close friends, some family members who have lost their lives to gun violence. And it's a heart-wrenching reality when you look at the statistics and understand and know that the leading cause of death for residents aged 1 through 17 is homicide. So looking forward to bringing investments, programs, and initiatives to address gun violence here in the city of Boston. Thank you, Madam President. And oh, sorry, I'd like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Fernandez Anderson to this hearing order.
Seeing no objections, Councilor Fernandez Anderson is added as an original co-sponsor. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you now have the floor. Apologies, you have to. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you now have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Very happy to collaborate with you. We held hearings previously. I know that your office, Councilor Worrell, held listening sessions and many roundtables in the community and organized around this with clergy. Also, thank you for bringing to my attention that there is an actual current task force that takes place on a weekly basis on Wednesdays, unfortunately, in the morning with Reverend Rivers and at the AME Church and many others. Looking forward to hopefully make it to those meetings with you at some point and collaborating with community. This is such a huge issue. Also, I've looked into a lot of the work that Boston Public Health Commission has done in linking this to social determinants of health and understanding that if we tackle social determinants of health, if we invest in them, hopefully not propelling or hopefully addressing the root cause of these issues in systemic racism. Looking forward to the work. Thank you so much for having me once again.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Durkin. Durkin? Yeah, okay. Fitzgerald, Mejia, Murphy, Pepin, Santana, Weber, and please add the chair. Thank you. Docket number 0174 will be referred to the Committee on Public Safety and Criminal Justice. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0175?
Docket number 0175, Councilors Worrell and Durkin offer the following: order for a hearing to bring the NBA All-Star Weekend to Boston.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The chair recognizes Councilor Worrell. Councilor Worrell, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to suspend the rules and add Councilor or Madam President Louis Jen as an original co-sponsor.
Councilor Worrell seeks suspension of the rules to add Councilor Louis Jen as the third original co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, Madam President Louis Jen is added as a third co-sponsor. Councilor Worrell, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And this is a refile from last year. As a basketball fan, it's been a long time since we've had the NBA All-Star Weekend in Boston. So just looking forward to having that conversation to see how we could set ourselves up for the city to make a great bid to bring the All-Star game back to the city of Boston, the city of champions. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilor Worrell. Thank you. Docket number 0175. Yep, will be referred to the Committee on Arts, Culture, Entertainment, Tourism, and Special Events. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0176?
Docket number 0176, Councilor Worrell offered the following: order for a hearing regarding the home ownership voucher program.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Worrell. Councilor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Braden as an original co-sponsor.
Seeing no objections, Councilor Braden is added as an original co-sponsor. You now have the floor.
Thank you. This refile addresses the challenges our fellow residents face in achieving home ownership. The stark racial disparities in Boston home ownership rates underscore the urgent need for action, especially considering the threefold higher denial rate faced by Black residents. The commendable efforts of the Boston Housing Authority in expanding the Section 8 home ownership program has seen success, but as we acknowledge the progress, we must also recognize the pressing need for additional funding to fulfill the home ownership aspirations of the applicants that the program is currently unable to fulfill. We need to explore avenues for securing this crucial funding and expanding the citywide voucher program, ensuring that all qualified residents have a fair chance at realizing the dream of home ownership. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Worrell. Thank you, Councilor Worrell. The chair recognizes Councilor Braden.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to Councilor Worrell for adding me as a co-sponsor.
Oh, sorry.
Priorities, Home First programme is crucial as it provides resources to help residents towards their goals of home ownership through down payment assistance of up to $75,000 for a home in Boston. The BHA Section 8 voucher residents have the option to participate in Section 8 to home ownership programme where they can continue to use their housing subsidy towards monthly mortgage payments for up to 15 years. This is a truly transformative and impactful programme, and I look forward to discussing and identifying avenues to expand the BHA home ownership programme going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Braden. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councillors Coletta, Durkin, Fernand Anderson, Mejia, Weber, and please add the chair. Thank you. Docket number 0176 will be referred to the Committee on Housing and Community Development. Mr. Chair, I'd like to return to docket number 0175 in order for a hearing to bring the NBA All-Star Weekend to Boston. I forgot to ask my colleagues if anyone would like to add their names. Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Fernand Anderson, Fitzgerald, Mejia, Murphy, Pepin, Santana, and Weber. Thank you, and thank you for that reminder. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0177?
Docket number 0177, Councilors Murphy and Weber offer the following. Order for a hearing reclaiming the Reggie Lewis Track and Athletic Center for our Boston Public School athletes.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The chair recognizes Councilor Murphy. Councilor, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'd like to suspend the rules and add Councillor Fernandez Anderson as an original co-sponsor, please.
Councilor Murphy seeks suspension of the rules to add Councilor Fernandez Anderson as their third original co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, Councilor Fernandez Anderson is added as the third co-sponsor. Councilor Murphy, you now have the floor.
Thank you. And I'd also just like to note that Councillor Weber won't be speaking today on it because he hasn't made his maiden speech, but he is also an original sponsor, as we know. I filed this as a resolution back in December because we only had a short period of time, not enough time to hold a hearing. And I had promised then, after we all signed on to it and passed, that I would refile it as a hearing order at the first meeting, so here we are today. I'm looking forward to this hearing and getting answers for our BPS student athletes and coaches, and also for many of the constituents have been calling and reaching out to my office, sharing some of their stories and concerns, but also President Jackie Jenkins Scott of Roxbury Community College, who manages the Reggie Lewis Center, so I do think it's very important that she's here for this hearing, so her voice is heard also, so we can get some clear understanding and how we can move forward, and always thinking about our student athletes and how we can, because we need to do better for them in BPS with our facilities for them, so thank you.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I had the opportunity to meet with leadership of Roxbury Community College and other stakeholders regarding this issue. It was clear to me that when suburban schools access the space, it's because they have a game to meet at the track. I know this because my kid attends a suburban school, and when he has a game and he runs track, he's coming to a home game. So the home game being Madison Park, John D. O'Brien, all Boston Public Schools. And so I think that this presents, and I'd like to thank Councilor Murphy for filing this, because the opportunity here is for us to have a conversation about what are the possibilities, what are other solutions. I know that freshman year high school, I attended Snowden High School, and we had to use the WCAC for a gym, and we used the church for a theater. So there are different issues here with BPS facilities not having sufficient space for athletic use. And so looking forward to this hearing, to talk to stakeholders, to Ms. Jackie Jenkins Scott, who is a very well-respected person, woman in the community. Not to give you my whole bio, but I've known Dr. Jenkins Scott since I was 12 years old, going to Dimick Health Center. She ran this clinic to the utmost service, top leadership. And I respect her, and I know that she is doing an amazing job with Reggie Lewis. And just, I guess, here's the opportunity for us to say, you know, RCC or our new president at the Reggie Lewis, what are the possibilities, or BPS for superintendent to come forward and say, what are the opportunities, what's in capital planning, what can we do in the interim while we are trying to develop facilities that adequately meets the needs of BPS students. But again, to my knowledge, so far I've been told that BPS students are actually getting preference, and suburban schools are coming only for home games. Even if it's on the weekend, home games happen on weekends. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their names? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Durkin, Santana. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number, thank you, docket number 0177, we referred to the Committee on Education. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0178?
Docket number 0178, Councilors Murphy and Flynn offer the following. Order for a hearing to address the disparity in pay between our Boston Fire and Boston Police cadets.
The Chair recognizes Councilor Murphy.
Thank you. This is a refile, but after speaking with command staff at Boston Police, and BPPA contract negotiations did include, and I spoke with Councilor Worrell earlier, that they have addressed that in their most recent contract negotiations. So I'm happy to say, and I do believe it is because of us pushing it forward and bringing it to the light of the police, that our cadets in the police who have been around a lot longer felt like they were being mistreated or not respected when the first fire cadet class came on board, and they were getting paid considerably more than them. So I'm happy to announce that I can withdraw this hearing order, but that our cadets are getting paid equally. So thank you.
Thank you. This hearing order is withdrawn. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket number 0179?
Docket number 0179, Councilors Durkin and Coletta offer the following. Order for a hearing to discuss trash collection in Boston.
Thank you. The Chair recognizes Councilor Durkin. Councilor, you now have the floor.
Thank you so much, President Louisian. This is a refile from my predecessor, Councilor Bach, but this is a critical public health issue. I actually was the first thing I did on the first day I launched my campaign was stand in this chamber and talk about, at this hearing that we're refiling, about containerization and rats and trash, representing the West End, Beacon Hill, Back Bay, Fenway, and Mission Hill. I know how important this issue is. And I also would like to move to suspend the rules to add Councilor Flynn as an original co-sponsor. Oh, sorry.
You're not able to add, if they're not present, you're not able to add them as, yeah.
I'd like to move to suspend the rules to add Councilor Louisian, because there was interest on the council president's part as well to join this. Thank you. So this is a really important issue. I just want to shout out the Public Works team and the Zero Waste team with the city who have done incredible work on this, but there's still work to do. And so I'd like to shout out Dennis Roach, Jerry Gorman, and Maddie Montgomery, who've been working very closely with our office. And I hope my colleagues will be able to attend this hearing on something that's so essential to our city services. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Durkin and Councilor Coletta, and thank you also for adding me. I'll speak on it with a filing that I have later. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? Would anyone? The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez Anderson.
No. Thank you, Madam President. Typically, I don't speak much on this issue because it's a very, very popular issue, and all of my colleagues will stand up and we'll have like a whole hour of positioning here in the chamber. But as a councilor who represents Dorchester and Roxbury, and recently discovered that a part of my district is actually in Mattapan. So I actually have about like 5 different neighborhoods, considering that we are the heart of Boston. We're in the middle of Boston. And all of these issues obviously centralize in my district as well. I look forward to collaborating with you, Councilor Durkin, and having a conversation. I think it's important for us to really weigh into the constituents, especially the civic leaders who are experts on this issue. They're on the ground, they're organizing, and they're super good about creating spreadsheets and trackers and metrics on this issue. So it's become a bit cumbersome on our community, and I hope to find a resolution with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia. You now have the floor.
You know, I think that Councilor Anderson created a space for me to stand up because I am not going to be occupying a lot of space in this chamber, but I have been inspired to do so today. Thank you. I just want to, I think this is also another opportunity for us to really look at the way we do business and even how we assign hearings to certain committees and what type of conversations we have, because ultimately we just want things to work. So I think creating an opportunity to making sure that we're looking at the accountability, the transparency, and accessibility to this conversation. I'm not going to advocate that it goes into my committee, but I do hope that whatever conversations we have in this term, that it's really delivering results, because I think that we've been having conversations about things, and I think we have an amazing opportunity to say, here's where we are, here's where we need to be, and here's what we're going to do to get there. I think that that is the level of accountability that our constituents are looking for, and I really do appreciate Councilor Anderson uplifting neighborhoods that usually get left out of these conversations, because we also have trash issues. We also have those sort of things that we feel neglected, so I'm glad that you have uplifted those communities, and I co-sign that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. I'll fast forward a little bit and talk about how I'm filing an order that is being withdrawn. It's 0201, docket 0201, order for a hearing on ways to increase trash pickups at large buildings. My office has been in active conversation and work in deep partnership with Councilor Fernandez Anderson's office and Lavette Coney, shout out to my chief of staff, Emily Polston, on doing trash pilots and rat pilots in Roxbury, in Mattapan, in Hyde Park, in deep partnership with the Office of Public Works in Jamaica Plain, where we have a rat pilot that we're doing there. So I want to uplift every city council's work in this area and in every neighborhood, especially in neighborhoods that are too often ignored, and want to thank all of my colleagues for their willingness to collaborate on this issue. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Councilor, for Madam President, for indulging me. I just wanted to just really highlight this, and I apologize that I missed it out in my first talk. Your team, thank you so much to your staff, Claudine and Emily and Jesse and everyone, sorry, I forget the name of your constituent service director, for really creating a structure, a program. It almost feels like a program, a project that you are executing in District 7, and for leaning in and saying, you know, Councilor Anderson, we know that this is in your district out of courtesy, but how do we proceed? And for me to say, look, we have 80,000 people in District 7, and our district is overwhelmed. Can you take this on? And the partnership between a district councilor and an at-large councilor, and now Council President, understanding how busy your schedule is, greatly appreciate it, and look forward to continuing the work. Just wanted to shout out your staff. Amazing work, and look forward to seeing more.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Durkin, you now have the floor. No, you don't, but now you do.
Thank you so much.
Now you do.
Thank you so much, Council President Louis-Jean. And I just wanted to highlight some of the very detailed conversations I've had with Public Works. I actually discovered that Roxbury and Beacon Hill and a lot of Councillor Coletta's district are actually in the same trash district. And that was because Mayor Menino really sought to add equity into every conversation. So that's why Roxbury and Beacon Hill both get 2 trash pickups. And 2 trash pickups per week. And so centering everything that my colleagues have said, I'm so excited that this is an issue that everyone wants to work on. And I think we have a real opportunity here to have that conversation in this hearing. So I'm really grateful for everyone's interest and excited to partner with everyone who's been working on this issue so far.
Thank you, Councillor Durkin. Anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Anyone else would like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councillors Braden, Fernand Anderson, Fitzgerald, Mejia, Murphy, Pepin, Santana, Weber, Worrell. Thank you. Docket number 0179 will be referred to the Committee on City Services and Innovation Technology. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0180?
Docket number 0180, Councilors Durkin and Pepin offer the following. Order for a hearing to discuss city services in regard to composting and the need for increased composting services.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councillor Durkin. Councillor, you have the floor.
I'd like to suspend the rules and add Councillor Braden as an original co-sponsor.
Councillor Durkin seeks suspension of the rules to add Councillor Braden as a third original co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, Councillor Braden is added as a third co-sponsor. Councillor Durkin, you now have the floor.
Thank you so much, Council President Louise Zhen. It's with great excitement I saw small green compost bins popping up around my neighborhood starting in August 2022. It has been hopeful to see enthusiasm with which residents of the city have continued or have introduced a habit of composting in their household waste and disposal practices. And given that we just had a conversation around trash on our streets and rats and how those are interlinked, composting is just as interlinked with all of these issues. And given the inordinate amount of food scraps that make its way into landfills each year, it's imperative that we remain conscious of our individual impact. Residents can't properly do that, though, without access to proper resources. That's why I'm honored to continue the effort of my predecessor, Councillor Bach, along with Councillors Braden and Pepin, to support the expansion of the city's curbside composting program beyond the voluntary contribution of a select number of residents. A huge shout out to Public Works and the Zero Waste team again, who've done an incredible job successfully getting this off the ground and running in a short period of time. Now is the time to meet the goals other cities and towns around the country have met and expand our compost collection efforts. But let's just say every time I bring up this issue, it's with great excitement around the neighborhoods that I represent, and I know a lot of you have found that residents are begging to have a green bin. So I'm excited to have this conversation in partnership with my colleagues and with the administration, who has really led on this issue. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councillor Durkin. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Councillor Braden, you now have the floor. Oh, you now have the floor.
I realised Councillor Pepin was keeping quiet over there because this is not his maiden speech.
We'll hear from him soon.
Thank you to my colleagues
No
for
pressure.
raising this topic for a hearing and working off the previous work of our colleague Councillor Kenzie Bach when she was here. The expansion of curbside composting programme has been a success across the city, with our office frequently receiving inquiries from interested residents seeking to participate, including both homeowners and renters. To be eligible, residents have to live in a building with 6 units or less that receive trash collection through the city. And we have had to redirect many residents to Project Oscar's community composting sites, because so many of our residents want to compost, but they happen to live in a building that is more than 6 units, which is unfortunate. And as our city programmes improve each year to better serve present-day needs of residents, it's important to take a step back and assess the current conditions, identify the positives, the challenges, and the potential areas for growth. I look forward to working with my co-sponsors and the administration to hold this important conversation about curbside composting. And it is a critical tool that we can take food waste out of the trash, and I think it decreases the food supply for our rodent population across the city. So it's an important tool that we need to execute to the maximum possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Braden, and thank you for the leadership, Councillor Durkin and Councillor Braden, on this issue. I love seeing the green bins dotting our city, and think it's really an important part of, like you both stated, the trash conversation. So is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councillors Coletta, Fernandes Anderson, Mejia, Murphy, and Weber, and Worrell. And please add the chair. Docket number 0180 will be referred to the Committee on City Services and Innovation Technology. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0181?
Docket number 0181, Councillor Durkin offer the following. Order for a hearing to discuss the mental health and wellness resources available to the City of Boston employees and new resources implemented after COVID-19 pandemic.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councillor Durkin.
Thank you so much, Council President Louis-Jean. As you all know, this was my maiden speech. There's nothing more important than supporting our city workers and their mental health. We have so many city workers across our cabinets and across and even beyond across so many city departments. We ask people to do extremely challenging things, so we need to be there for them, especially in the wake of COVID-19. We see there's a direct link between an employer's ability to meet the need of the mental health needs of their workers and the employee's ability to retain and recruit, and our employer as the City of Boston to retain and recruit a dedicated team. So since my initial filing last year, I was grateful to have many departments participate in our first hearing on the matter, and we've been especially grateful to the department staff and chiefs for making themselves available for follow-up conversations with myself and my team. I want to make sure to thank in a special way the Chief People Officer Alex Lawrence, Associate Director of Employee Assistance Program Ulrich Johnson, Emergency Medical Services Chief James Hooley, Director of Health Benefits Emma Bletzer, and especially our Chief Behavioral Health Officer Dr. Kevin Simon, and his colleague Samara Grossman. But this work isn't done. We have so much more work to do, especially to ensure that we're not only taking care of basic mental health needs like appointments, but also getting into the issue of wellness beyond just being able to access therapy. So I want to continue to keep this in hopefully in the COVID-19 committee, because it's so linked to what we do at the city level, and so linked to COVID-19 and the impacts that it had on city workers. So really grateful to my colleagues who were able to come to the hearing and want to continue this important work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Durkin, and thank you for your work on this issue. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Councillor Fernandes Anderson, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to Councillor Durkin for filing such an important hearing or order for a hearing. A couple of years ago, I know that we had a conversation here where I tried to allocate funds in the budget to actually pay for a professional practitioner to service or support 311 workers. I think we all know here that our constituent service directors are overwhelmed with all of the calls that come in all the time, and we're well aware that visceral trauma can take place in terms of just listening to something and not properly or clinically understanding how to mitigate certain issues. So I fully support this idea and look forward to working with my colleague on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fernandes Anderson. Docket number 0181 will be referred to the Committee on Boston's COVID-19 Recovery. Would anyone else, before that, would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councillors Braden, Coletta, Fernandes Anderson, Fitzgerald, Mejia, Murphy, Pepin, Santana, Weber, and Worrell. Please add the chair. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0182?
Docket number 0182, Councilor Durkin offered the following. Order for a hearing regarding gasoline-powered lawn and garden equipment.
Councilor Durkin, you now have the floor.
I'd like to withdraw 0182, not because it's not important, but because having spoke to a lot of different leaders in the industry, I want to make sure there's actually an appropriate, for full transparency, I want to make sure there's actually appropriate and similarly powered electric things to do what we need at the city level. I may be refiling this in a different form, but just wanted to be completely transparent with my colleagues. Having received more information, I want to make sure that our city workforce has the tools they need to clear, and I think this could lead to a conversation about snow blowing as well. And given how important it is in these winter months for our roads to be accessible, I just want to withdraw this one for now.
Thank you, Councilor Durkin. This docket is withdrawn. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0183?
Docket number 0183, Councilors Fernandez Anderson and Worrell offer the following. Order for a hearing to facilitate a community process to support consumers in District 7 impacted by the impending closure of Walgreens at 416 Warren Street.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The chair now recognizes Councilor Fernandez Anderson.
Thank you, Madam President. The customers and consumers and the overall community is very concerned about the perspective of closure of the Walgreens on 416 Warren Street. Madam President and my colleagues who were here, Councilor Worrell, we filed last year on this, and my apologies. Madam President, I'd like to suspend the rules and add Madam President as the third original co-sponsor.
Councilor Fernandez Anderson seeks suspension of the rules to add Councilor Louis Jean as the third original co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, Councilor Louis Jean is added as the third co-sponsor. Thank you. You can proceed.
Thank you, Madam President. This closure follows the following of 3 Walgreens in December of 2022, of all which were in predominantly black and brown working class neighborhoods of Roxbury, Mattapan, and Hyde Park. I'd like to just, before proceeding, thank Attorney Cavanaugh for your amazing assistance and research in providing this brief to you. The Roxbury location that closed was in Nubian Square. When we contacted Walgreens and asked them about this, they mentioned that we could rely on the Walgreens that's on Warren Street. And now Warren Street is closing, and they're saying, well, you can rely on the Walgreens on Columbus Ave. And so, you know, there were signs on the door directing customers to go to another location and so forth. These closings are leading to pharmacy deserts. Many of the people who use this Walgreens do not drive, have mobility issues, and are elderly. This closure leaves the closest remaining pharmacy to be CVS in Grove Hall at 0.7 miles away. And there are reports that the store is also seeking to close. The closest remaining Walgreens would be the one on Columbus Ave in Eggleston Square. But this location is 1.2 miles away and is not really available by public transportation. Furthermore, Walgreens did give anything in way of advance notice or regarding this impending closure. I would say possibly about 3 to 4 weeks ago is when we learned about it. I think asking for more time would be fair to give us, the community, time to create transition opportunities for our constituents. They also initially chose to close the store on MLK Day, adding insult to injury and acting in the manner of their best, tone deaf to, at worst, if not racist. The community has not accepted this state of affairs. However, they have boldly stepped up. I'd like to thank Ms. Danielle Williams, as well as Reverend Culpepper, Louis Elisa, and other community stakeholders and leaders who have stepped up and protested Walgreens. I'd like to thank Senator Markey. I'd like to thank Senator Markey for actually stepping up to the plate and advocating for Roxbury as well. We also had a D7 community listening session about this matter that had about 90 participants, and press conference was recently held by Senator Markey, Congresswoman Presley, who also supported this and draw compelling attention. The community calls for a better plan from Walgreens that is currently to offer. As you all know, there is a racial inequity or health inequity in this community, and we need to do better. I would propose that we hold a conversation so that we can proactively plan for what is to come. And I understand that this is a private corporation and cannot, as a city, cannot force anyone to remain open or closed. However, encouraging them to be more responsible about future planning and working with us and saying, can you at least extend your open? Their lease is up in February, and if they could extend it at least for about 90 days for us to do better planning for their replacement. Thank you to Councilor Rowell and Madam President for co-sponsoring. Look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Arrell, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Madam President, and thank you to Councilor Fernandez Anderson for all your leadership on this work. Since we first heard about Walgreens closures, we also heard about the CVS and the Phil's Corner Target going out of business. And this is now on the heels of pharmacy closures over the past 2 years. We're working to make sure our constituents who have prescriptions have enough time to get them transferred, but this also underlines the issues of when you have healthcare providers or pharmacies owned by big corporations and they are putting profits over what's best for the community. And now we're not just losing a place where a boy can get his inhaler or a grandmother can fill her heart medication, but we're losing a place that sells bread, paper towels, and a place that gives vaccines to communities that have been most impacted by COVID-19. And a place where you could get a blood pressure cuff or a glucose monitor. This is a big loss, and we need to start doing everything we can do to support local businesses that share our community values and understand the impact on our community. Again, I just want to thank Councilor Anderson, Councilor Louis Jen, Senator Markey, Senator Warren, Congresswoman Ayanna Presley, and Rep. Worrell for all their attention on this matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Arrell. Councilor Durkin, you now have the floor.
I just wanted to say I'm so incredibly, as a new counselor, I'm just so incredibly inspired by the leadership you two have shown. I don't know why, it really got me emotional when I read the article that you had been talking about this for so long and you made a real impact. So I don't know why, it just shows what the role of the city council is and what you can do from this position. And as someone who's 6 months in, I don't know why it's making me really emotional, but thank you. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Councilor Durkin. Councilor Mejia, you now have the floor. There no speaking at this, just a warning that right now only councilors are able to speak. So if we could just limit all speaking to the councilors. Councilor Mejia, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And I want to thank my colleagues for their leadership in this space, too. I remember when this first happened a year or so ago, our office was really all about how do we seize this moment in terms of helping to support smaller mom and pop pharmacies, right? So I think that there's an opportunity. If people don't want to do business in our community, then how can we hold them accountable and create opportunities to support some of the smaller or businesses that are in our community, that we can build some infrastructure so that we can really reclaim our spaces and places. So I think that as we continue to have these conversations, I would love to make sure that when we host a hearing that we have folks who have businesses such as these in the neighborhood. I think that there's one in Roxbury that I think it's Pharmacy Lux, which is a pharmacy right around Roxbury Community College, I think it is. And I think that they are minority owned. So I think that if we can identify others and we could say, how do we seize this moment so that we can support our own and hold Walgreens accountable to building the infrastructure in which they both are supporting our constituents while also supporting our small businesses. I think that it's a win. I think as we continue to do this work, we need to identify how everyone wins and no one feels like they're losing. And I think this is an opportunity to do just that. So I encourage my colleagues to reach out to some of the small businesses and say, let's reclaim our space and let's occupy them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm getting it. It's flowing. Madam President, feels good.
Thank you.
Stop being so jealous. We did reach out. Thank you, Councilor Mejia. We have reached out, and they have reached out to us, and there are at least 2 proposals or ideas, right? It's not our property. It's all private business. And as legislators, we will continue to use our leadership, collaborate with stakeholders and organizers to hopefully execute that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? I'll just say briefly, as an original co-sponsor, that like Councilor Durkin said, I was moved and am moved by your leadership, Councilors Fernandez Anderson and Councilor Worrell, on this issue, being there at the Walgreens with Senator Markey and staff from Rep. Tyler, Rep. State Senator Miranda's office, Rep. Worrell, and community, right? Lifting up people like Danielle Williams, like Urban League, who have been working, Prophetic Resistance, who've been working on this. And so I thank you for your leadership and for being part of this conversation. There are devastating effects in our Black and brown communities when the profit model takes over when it comes to healthcare, and our pharmacies have been really central to providing healthcare in our communities. So I look forward to the hearing where we can look to reversing some of the harm that has been caused, especially in Black and brown communities. Would anyone else like to add their name to this docket? Another warning that only councilors at this moment can speak. Would anyone else like to add their name? At this moment, councilors are only allowed to speak. With any further.
You're going out.
We are in recess. We're in recess. We're back from recess. Again, I want to thank Councilor Fernandez Anderson and Councilor Worrell for your leadership and for focusing on the health needs of our communities. Would anyone else like to add their name to this docket? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Durkin, Fitzgerald, Murphy, Pepin, Santana, Weber. Thank you. Docket number 0183 will be referred to the Committee on Small Business and Professional Licensure. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0184?
Docket number 0184, Councilors Durkin and Santana offer the following. Order for a hearing to review the creation of a municipal bus service to provide last mile service and late night shuttle service for third shift workers.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Durkin. Councilor, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Council President Louisiane. I'd like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Weber. Last mile bus services.
One moment, Councilor.
Sorry.
Councilor Durkin seeks suspension of the rules to add Councilor Weber as the third original co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, Councilor Weber is added as the third co-sponsor. Councilor Durkin, you now have the floor.
Thank you so much, Council President. And thank you so much to my co-sponsor, Henry Santana, and my other co-sponsor, Benjamin Weber, who have done, who are interested in this issue as well. Others have reached out and are interested in co-sponsoring this as well. Last mile bus services provide connections beyond established transit routes for all riders and are particularly beneficial for those people with disabilities and mobility challenges, in reducing the distance between MBTA stations and their destination, which is often too far of a distance for them to walk. In my district, the Missional Link serves as an example of this type of service that the City of Boston is planning to expand, or hopefully. Right now, I've been grateful to join the Boston Transit Department over the past several months in discussing the creation of a fleet of last mile service options across the city to accompany MBTA transit options. The idea comes from these needs to serve and fill service gaps in our neighborhoods through partnership with residents and local institutions. My hope is that the city is able to create a template that puts community advocates in charge to plan, implement, and operate services with the goals of providing the best value for residents. For example, anyone should be able to create and run a last mile bus on their own initiative. And we should be able to empower residents to provide that feedback of what's actually needed in community. The city is already leading the charge here, but having a hearing to discuss this is incredibly important. And this is a really necessary step forward. I'd like to thank the members of the BTD team who have been leading, especially Matt Moran and Tyler Liu, who have been just incredible leads here. And I'd like to also acknowledge that Councillor Braden reached out and was interested in this, as well as Councillor Brian Worrell. So it's so important to see that our colleagues are interested in this and that the city is already leading here. So I'm excited for this hearing, and thank you so much, Council President, for your leadership as well.
Thank you, Councillor Durkin. Councillor Coletta, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise just to briefly express gratitude to the makers. This is something that really affects my district. I represent a lot of second and third shift workers. I myself, when I was in college, was a restaurant worker. I didn't get out until 2 a.m. The Blue Line was down, and back in the day, we didn't have Uber or Lyft, and so I had to go to taxis, and they often would refuse to go to East Boston because they had to pay the toll afterwards. And so I forget exactly what year, but the MBTA engaged in a pilot program for late night service for the Blue Line, and it was insanely successful. So this is a valued conversation for my district, and I just want to thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Coletta. The chair recognizes Councillor Fernandez Anderson. Councillor Fernandez Anderson, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilor Durkin, this is a fantastic idea. My office is actually working on research about a shuttle program to actually go from business district to business district so that they can cross-market between districts. And I think this would be a great opportunity, hopefully, to amend your order and add this other idea. I think the third shift would be an extension of the shuttle program that I've been working on. There's a lot of issues with transportation, as we know currently, but no bus actually goes from district to district. Imagine if you could take a shuttle that not only sort of a tourism, it could include party buses, it could include other types of entertainment, but an idea that would actually take customers from Mattapan Square to Upham's Corner Art District to the Nubian Square Art District and so forth, or to Beacon Hill. Not only does it create an opportunity for cross-marketing, but it also creates an opportunity for reconciliation. Imagine unity sort of tours on these buses where our white brothers and sisters and black brothers and sisters can come together in sort of healing spaces to talk about moving forward with equity in Boston. I think that sort of entertaining opportunity would be a wonderful way to make it fun and to do some work that we need in Boston. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fernandez Anderson. Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councillors Braden, Coletta, Fernandez Anderson, Fitzgerald, Mejia, Murphy, Pepin, Santana, Worrell, and please add the chair. Docket number 0184 will be referred to the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation. And I echo my colleagues in saying that I think this is really important for so many of our workers who depend on public transportation. And so thank you so much, Councillor Durkin, and your co-sponsors for filing this. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0185? Oh, okay. Apology. Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. And then to docket number 0183, Mr. Clerk, can you please add the name of Councilor Mejia to that docket? Thank you. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0185?
Docket number 0185, Councilors Worrell and Fernandez Anderson offer the following. Order for a hearing to explore the summer community plan.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The chair recognizes Councilor Orell. Councilor Orell, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. And as we refiled this hearing order, this is to establish a yearly hearing with the administration and the council to discuss a comprehensive summer community plan for Boston by prioritizing initiatives such as credible messengers, hoping to reactivate programs like the Community Ambassadors Program and the expansion of the Boston Public Health Commission's Men's Health Initiative. In this hearing, along with the administration, I hope to create a proactive and community-focused strategy for the upcoming summer, fostering a safer environment and empowering our community. I'd like to thank my co-sponsor, Councilor Fernandez Anderson, for joining me on this important initiative, and also thank Dr. Isaac Yablo for his continued work in this space. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't want to belabor the points. I think that I would just add that out-of-school time is so crucial, but when we think about our structuring or supporting parents with structuring out-of-school time, then the question, I guess, is, how are we, or where are the tools that supports those parents? So last year we had conversations about possibly looking into the school app that helps with out-of-school homework time, but also managing all of your child's out-of-school time. And I think this is an opportunity to really look at, holistically, not just summer, but also all out-of-school time, right, when there's a vacation and so forth. So the other thing is, it's not just the programming, but also to be culturally competent, that we wanted to make sure that it's for all influences and backgrounds. And when we think about our especially Black LGBTQ boys and girls in the communities, then where do they go? They regress, they go underground, and leading to harm or harmful situations. So I applaud my colleague for having the presence of mind to and be so intuitive as to bringing this order forth, but also to having some faith in me and adding me on. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Oh. Councilor Orell, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to suspend the rules and add Madam President, Councilor Louis Jen to be original co-sponsor.
Thank you. Councilor Worrell seeks suspension of the rules to add President Louis Jean as the third original co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, I'm added as a third co-sponsor. Thank you. And I just want to say, again, appreciate your leadership, working, collaborating on this together in neighborhoods that often experience some of the most violence. I was also talking to Isaac Yablo, who has been doing really great work, and excited to bring the partnership that we have into the work that you all are doing as well. Thank you. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number, yep. Thank you. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Durkin, Fitzgerald, Mejia, Murphy, Pepin, Santana, Weber. Thank you. Docket number 0185 will be referred to the Committee on Public Safety and Criminal Justice. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0186?
Docket number 0186, Councilors Worrell and Mejia offer the following. Order for a hearing regarding barriers to business.
Thank you. Councilor Orell, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Fernandez Anderson as original co-sponsor.
Seeing and hearing no objections, Councilor Worrell seeks suspension of the rules to add Councilor Fernandez Anderson as the third original co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, Councilor Fernandez Anderson is added as the third co-sponsor.
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to thank my co-sponsors for all their work that they have done in the small business space, and also just to refile, to discuss and highlight the many challenges that burden small businesses in Boston. As a small business owner myself, I had to go through the maze and the ISD, and we're just looking to streamline that and create more efficiency and offer more support for entrepreneurs and small businesses alike. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Worrell. The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia. Councilor Mejia, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to my co-sponsors. I am too looking for an opportunity to lean into the work this term and really identify ways that we're going to move barriers and provide opportunities for people who have been waiting for them. So looking forward to working alongside you on just doing that.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to the original sponsor and my co-sponsor, Councilor Mejia. I am happy to join Councilor Worrell and Councilor Mejia on this hearing order. On one hand, we celebrate small businesses and say that they're the engine of our local economy. And on the other hand, we charge thousands of dollars in fees to someone that wants to start a business. So it costs more than $5,500 in fees just to start a restaurant. And that, of course, is not including the investments, all of the hundreds, at least about $100,000. Then you would have to at least have to save for overhead 6 months of that cost. And as we know, in this economy, in this market, it's becoming harder and harder, brick and mortar especially. So I'm very proud to say that I'm working with the administration to work on a digital marketplace. Last year, a couple of years ago, I would have filed digital marketplace in partnership with Councilor Worrell, and we basically want to discuss with the Office of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion how to, I guess, create an Amazon, so to speak, a digital marketplace which is a trust owned by small businesses in Boston that would function as the platform to do business, like an Amazon, to compete with corporations. Imagine all small businesses get into a digital platform that they can function and it's free of charge. I think the maintenance or sustainability obviously needs to be maintained or executed by a community partner. I've been talking to tech companies and other types of organizations that could do this, manage but not also sustain it. I look forward to continuing to work with Councilor Worrell and the co-sponsor on this. I think this is an amazing opportunity to merge the ideas and now create a platform that hopefully can do away, or as brick and mortars, we're doing away with brick and mortars, we can compete in a digital world. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Fitzgerald, Murphy, Durkin, Pepin, Santana, Weber, and please add the chair. Thank you. Docket number 0186 will be referred to the Committee on Small Business and Professional Licensure. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0187?
Docket number 0187, Councilor Worrell offered the following. Order for a hearing to assess expanded hospital and community-centric violence prevention and intervention.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Worrell. Councilor, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. This hearing order addresses the need to assess and expand the violence prevention and intervention efforts that's currently taking place in some of our hospitals, BMC being the largest, by examining successful models like the one implemented in Hartford, Connecticut. We can strengthen collaborative efforts, initiatives empower hospitals and community organizations, and ensure a coordinated approach for effective violence prevention, intervention, and community building and healing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Worrell. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Durkin, Fernandez Anderson, Fitzgerald, Mejia, Murphy, Pepin, Santana, Weber, and please add the chair. Thank you. Docket number 0187 will be referred to the Committee on Public Health, Homelessness, and Recovery. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0188?
Docket number 0188, Councilors Worrell and Mejia offer the following. Order for a hearing to explore scholarships for Boston students to increase access to all forms of higher education.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Worrell. Councilor, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Fernandez Anderson as the original co-sponsor.
Councilor Worrell would like to suspend the rules to add to suspend Rule 12 to add a third sponsor, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Seeing and hearing no objections, Councilor Fernandez Anderson is added as a third co-sponsor.
Thank you, Madam President. This is a refile, and it just explores the urgent need to get financial assistance to those who are attending private institutions, but also making sure that there's a path for our Boston Public School students or Boston high school students that are looking to pursue higher education, that they have a path and can see a path to obtain a college degree or even workforce development training. So look forward to having this conversation with the administration. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Councilor Worrell. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? The chair recognizes Councilor Mejia.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you to my co-sponsor for his leadership in this space. Our office gets a lot of requests from students who in January and also in the fall are unable to register for school because they are finding themselves in a financial gap. And so I think that it's really important for us as we continue to have these conversations is figuring out how we can meet that need because, people say that higher education is oftentimes a pathway out of poverty, but people who are living in poverty have a hard time accessing the dollars that they need. So I think as we continue to have these conversations, I'd love to see how we can incorporate some of the pilot conversations, these institutions who are occupying space in our city, what roles do they play in helping to support the higher educational goals of our students, and then also how well are we preparing our students in Boston Public Schools to, I remember my freshman year in college, had an award-winning personality, I probably would still be in college right now, y'all. But my Bursa was really incredibly generous and allowed me to retake some courses because I was not prepared to be in that space. So I think this is a bigger conversation that, has given us an opportunity to also look at accountability. Are we passing our kids from grade to grade, and then when they get to higher ed, they can't stay? So I think that there's a lot to unpack here, and I look forward to working alongside my colleague to do just that.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Coletta, Durkin, Fernandez Anderson, Fitzgerald, Murphy, Pepin, Santana, Weber, and please add the chair. Thank you. Docket number 0188 will be referred to the Committee on Education. Mr. Clerk, please read docket number 0189.
Docket number 0189, Councilors Worrell and Louisiana offer the following. Order for a hearing regarding providing technical assistance to civic associations and outlining best practices for civic associations.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Worrell.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Coletta as original co-sponsor.
Councilor Worrell seeks suspension of the rules to add Councilor Coletta as a third original co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, Councilor Coletta is added as a third co-sponsor.
This is a refile, just reintroducing this to highlight the importance of our civic groups, but also to make sure that we're making sure that they have the support and resources to engage with community residents. You know, we ask them to do a lot. You know, they're doing abutters meetings, they're doing development meetings. So we just want to make sure that they have the technical assistance, the support to do the outreach and engagement that's needed to help us move all this work forward. So thank you, Council President. Look forward to this discussion.
Thank you, Councilor Worrell. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Durkin, Fernand Anderson, Fitzgerald, Mejia, Murphy, Pepin, Santana, and Weber. Thank you. Docket number 0189 will be referred to the Committee on City Services and Innovation Technology. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0190?
Docket number 0190, Councilor Coletta offer the following. Order for a hearing regarding implementing coastal resilience strategies for Boston's waterfront.
Thank you. The Chair recognizes Councilor Coletta. Councilor, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to move to add Councilor Fitzgerald as co-sponsor.
Seeing no objections, Councilor Fitzgerald is added as an original co-sponsor. Councilor Coletta, you now have the floor.
Thank you so much. This is a refile of what I centered my maiden speech around, so I ask for patience as I go through some not long remarks, but longish-ish remarks. This is an important issue. It's near and dear to my heart. 45% of Suffolk County's critical infrastructure will be underwater. This means hospitals, schools, police, fire, emergency services, in addition to the thousands of individuals that stand to be displaced if we do not act with urgency to fortify our coastline to meet the sea and protect our most vulnerable with permeable, active, and passive spaces. It's not a matter of if, but when we are hit with a storm system as severe as Hurricane Sandy. I've been working diligently with members of the administration. We're now beyond the assessment phase of identifying which areas will be hit first and worst, and now it's implementation time. We are simply behind our sister cities in Europe. This means Rotterdam and Amsterdam. And I believe it's incumbent upon the city to be a leader in convening private and public property owners while looping in philanthropic partners and advocating to acquire necessary resources. And the projected cost of this is $3.5 billion to tackle Boston's next Big Dig level projects. We've done this before through the Big Dig, and we can do it again. I'm happy to refile to continue this conversation, apply some friendly pressure to the administration and move forward, and create a single entity of a position to lead point at the city level the way that Hoboken, New Jersey does through a chief resilience officer. They are already prepared to take in 90% of flooding. We're nowhere near this, and we need to get to work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Just want to thank you, Councilor Coletta, for your leadership on all issues regarding to our waterfront and protecting our city. Is anyone seeking to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Durkin, Fernand Anderson, Mejia, Murphy, Santana, Weber, Worrell, and please add the chair. Mr. Clerk, please read, I have to sign, okay. Thank you. Docket number 0190 will be referred to the Committee on Environmental Justice, Resiliency, and Parks. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0191?
Docket number 0191, Councilors Braden and Fitzgerald offered the following. Order for a hearing to discuss the continuity of healthcare services in relation to the financial challenges faced by the Steward healthcare system.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The chair recognizes Councilor Braden. Councilor, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I move to suspend the rules and add Councillor Worrell as an original co-sponsor.
Councilor Braden seeks suspension of the rules to add Councilor Worrell as the third original co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, Councilor Worrell is added as the third co-sponsor.
Thank you, Madam President. Steward Healthcare is the largest private for-profit healthcare network in the country. In 2010, a private equity firm acquired 6 Massachusetts hospitals for $800 million, including the Carney Hospital in Dorchester and St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Brighton. That acquisition was the most significant conversion of hospital assets from a non-profit to for-profit status in Massachusetts. When their properties joined the city's tax roll, our neighbourhoods also lost targeted community benefits that they had provided when they had the local non-profit status. Now, Stewart faces escalating financial challenges, including missed payments to vendors and creditors, bringing into question the short-term and long-term operability of their entire system across the country. This threatens the continuity of healthcare services for thousands of their patients here in eastern Massachusetts and right here in Boston. This is severe, as Stewart's hospitals are designated as high public payer and disproportionate share hospitals, serving nearly 70% of patients either uninsured or on Medicaid or Mass Health and Medicare. The Stewart situation has raised alarms all across the country about any possible closures, severe impact on our region's already overstretched healthcare system, with limited capacity to accommodate additional patient volume. The potential to jeopardise continuity of access to vital services makes regional coordination imperative to prevent a public health emergency, and we must ensure stability and protect the well-being of our patients, healthcare workers, families, and our communities. It's a similar conversation that we had just a few moments ago with regard to Walgreens. When healthcare providers put profit before patient welfare, it is of grave concern, and I hope that we can have an expedited hearing on how we can shore up and protect our citizens and our residents across Boston in the midst of this healthcare crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Breeden. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? I just want to say thank you to Councillors Breeden, Fitzgerald, and Morrell for your leadership on this issue. Kearney Hospital, St. Elizabeth's are important hospitals. Kearney, a bunch of my family members go there, and so we know that it's an important resource. And I think, Councillor Breeden, you hit the nail on the head when we talk about the problems that are happening with the profit model in our healthcare industry. So thank you for filing this and for your leadership on this matter. Would anyone like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councillors Coletta, Durkin, Fernandes Anderson, Mejia, Murphy, Pepin, Santana, and Weber. Please add the chair. Thank you. Docket number 0191 will be referred to the Committee on Public Health, Homelessness, and Recovery. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0192?
Docket number 0192, Councillor Coletta offered the following. Order for a hearing to discuss the ongoing modernization of Article 80 in Boston's zoning code.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councillor Coletta. Councillor Coletta, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. May I add Councillor Fitzgerald and Councillor Fernandes Anderson as second and third co-sponsors?
Seeing no objections, Councillor Fitzgerald is added as an original co-sponsor. The Councillor seeks suspension of the Councillor Coletta seeks suspension of the rules to add Councillor Fernandes Anderson as the third original co-sponsor. Seeing and hearing no objections, Councillor Fernandes Anderson is added as the third co-sponsor. Councillor Coletta, you now have the floor.
Thank you so much, Madam President. The BPDA is actively working on reforming the Article 80 process, which is a welcome endeavor as part of Mayor Wu's efforts to modernize the BPDA and its governance. The general public and the City Council have largely been left out of formal conversations and therefore have been refused the opportunity to influence how to reform the development review process to benefit their districts and their constituents. Councilors are typically involved in the Article 80 review process and in discussion with proponents, impact advisory group members, and the BPDA. It is imperative that councilors provide their experience and perspective to better inform how to center community feedback and develop mechanisms to extract adequate and fair mitigation for our neighborhoods. The current process as it relates to community benefits lacks clear assessment of community needs and subsequent investment in affordable housing, workforce development, public realm improvements, open space and parks investments, and investments in arts and culture. Additionally, the comment period is an open call for feedback, with little to no understanding of how the BPDA synthesizes and applies it to final iterations of what is recommended to the board for passage. Moreover, this method favors a homogeneous group of residents who have the time, energy, and resources to organize themselves and their neighbors. We could benefit from a reimagining effort and reimagining how to approach the same way that Arlington does, where it requires benchmarked outreach and measures success based on the number of comments solicited per self-reported demographics like race, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, homeownership or renter status, members of the disability community, veterans, etc. The goal of this docket is to help the public and the council understand where we are at and influence the outcome to the best of our ability. Article 80 must work effectively to extract proper mitigation and make a more equitable community. As we work to modernize this process, communication is essential to ensuring we are utilizing the adequate mechanisms to address the systemic issues with the current process. My understanding is that the administration is also going to be filing an ordinance that has to do with the BPDA governance, so I'm hoping that we could tie this docket with the forthcoming docket that's been mentioned by the administration. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councillor Coletta. Councillor Fernandes Anderson, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate you, Councilor Coletta, for adding me onto this hearing order. It's been 28 years since Article 80 was introduced. To give a sense of how long that's been, myself, Senator Liz Miranda, my policy director, David Silberg, were all at the John D. O'Brien as high school students. Tupac was still alive. But seriously, it's been a long time. And so the process has not been allowed for proper community input. And that is the bottom line. Most of the constituents that have come to meetings and development meetings all have explained that they are not being heard, or that sometimes it's in a forum style, so you can't necessarily see the participants. Therefore, lack of transparency, not understanding who are the constituents or who are the developers or who from the administration is in the meetings or in the meetings. And in these days, incredibly high rents and mortgages, we remain with developments that do not produce nearly enough housing that is truly for the majority of our residents. So we talk about, equity and how to create pathways to close the wealth gap, and yet we are having a hard time. And I do have to commend Chief Dillon for her efforts in the one-third rule, and finding ways to do the math, and with predatory lending and all of the issues that we have with banks that are not necessarily funding developers, especially smaller Black and brown developers who may not have the liquid asset to take a loan of a magnitude to build commercially. So a lot of people have all of these issues, and meanwhile, we can give land to small developers and say that that's equity, but then if we're not creating programs, and I know that Councilor Rell had brought a hearing order to discuss ways that we support small developers in real ways so that land is just not blighted. This presents another issue where we're giving land and we are not actually cleaning up our land before that, and hopefully stay tuned. I look forward to filing something to discuss how the city can actually be more intentional in that. But in terms of the Article 80 and its processes, if you've created a committee, and I again commend the administration for doing that, have we included the people in that committee, in that committee, to reflect or represent the people that are truly impacted? Have we gone back? Have we surveyed the civic associations? Have we leaned into, again, the community who are the experts in this issue? And so it continues to be a severely contentious issue. And hopefully this hearing will say to the administration, hey, we want to work together on this. We want to create more intentionality or be truly transparent in order to find a solution that actually benefits the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandes Anderson. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Mr. Clerk, please add Councilors Braden, Durkin, Mejia, Murphy, Santana, Weber, and Worrell. Please add the chair. This docket number 0192 will be referred to the Committee on Planning, Development, and Transportation.
Sorry, I just had my light on before. Also, could you please ask if Councillor Pepin would like to be added to docket 0190. He wasn't in the room. The coastal resilient one, please.
Councillor Pepin, would you like to be added to docket number 0192? Mr. Clerk, can you please add Councillor Pepin to docket number 0192? Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0193?
Docket number 0193, Council Louisiana offered the following. Order for a hearing to discuss an increase in racist incidents in Boston and the Human Rights Commission's role in tracking, reporting, and addressing discrimination and civil rights violations.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Council Louis Jen. Council Louis Jen, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to add Councillor Fernandes Anderson as an original co-sponsor.
Seeing and hearing no objection, Councillor Fernandes Anderson should be added.
I am refiling this because Bostonians are growing increasingly concerned with the rise in racist activities and hate crimes across the United States and here in Boston, including recent increases in anti-Semitic and anti-Black crimes, crimes against Muslims, Arabs, Palestinians, Asian American Islanders, and LGBTQ+ individuals. Hate crimes in 2023 reached levels not seen since the Federal Bureau of Investigation began collecting hate crime statistics in 1991. And Boston has reported an estimated 177 hate crimes through December 22nd, 2023, representing the highest number since 2001. The Boston Police Department, one of the first to track hate crimes through a specialized unit established in 1978, has been reporting and investigating such crimes. However, many residents have expressed still some hesitancy in reporting nonviolent assaults, slurs, or threats to the Boston Police Department, indicating a need for a more robust Human Rights Commission reporting and tracking process to fill the gaps. We should have a discussion about how the Human Rights Commission ordinance could have stronger reporting requirements, strengthen its enforcement powers, and add civil rights mandates to create a more impactful and modernized Human Rights Commission. My office has been working in partnership with the administration to discuss what the Human Rights Commission, what their purview completely should be, so that we can help make sure that the Commission is centered in the work of fighting hate crimes in our city. Thank you, Councilor Ra.
Thank you, Councilor Louis Jen. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone like to add their name? Please add Councilor Braden, Councilor Coletta, Councilor Durkin, Councilor Fitzgerald, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Pepin, Councilor Santana, Councilor Weber, and please add Councilor Worrell. Thank you. Docket number 0193 will be referred to the Committee on Civil Rights, Racial Equity, and Immigrant Advancement. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0194?
Docket number 0194, Councilors Coletta and Louisiana offer the following. Order for a hearing to establish a climate change and environmental justice curriculum pilot program in Boston Public Schools.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Coletta. Councilor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Vice Chair. This is a refile. The goal is to engage young adults to be conscious stewards of our land and informed individuals who care about our planet. We had an excellent hearing last year with members of the STEAM curriculum department at BPS that highlighted the existing climate science curriculum that focused on weather systems and segments of environmental science. But what is lacking, what we found is lacking, is the emphasis on what human impacts and consumerism has on our planet and climate. Similarly, there is no standardized component of lesson plans or units to connect global impacts here locally in Boston. This denies our young adults the opportunity to really understand what it means to have frequent flooding, hotter days, and more severe storm systems. There's also no emphasis on environmental justice and what it means to live in an EJ community like East Boston, where decades of decisions have had impacts on the health and wellness of residents, including the decision to put an international airport in our district. Moreover, we discussed how to leverage community organizations like the Harbor Keepers, Eastie Farm, Courageous Sailing. I just got the opportunity to meet some members from the Codman Square CDC, and so many others who are already in this work to create workforce development pathways to both the green and blue economy. We need the next generation of young people to save us from ourselves, quite frankly, and be well equipped to fight the battle of our lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone like to add their name? Please add Council Braden, Council Durkin, Council Fernandez-Anderson, Council Fitzgerald, Council Mejia, Council Murphy, Council Pepin, Council Santana, Council Weber, and please add Council Worrell. Thank you. Docket number 0194 will be referred to the Committee on Education. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0195?
Docket number 0195, Councilors Louisiana and Fernandez-Anderson offer the following. Order for a hearing on discrimination in lending and appraisals.
Thank you. The Chair recognizes Council Louis Jen. Council Louis Jen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Braden as the third original co-sponsor.
Thank you. Seeing here no objection, Councilor Braden shall be added.
Thank you. I held a hearing on this March of last year, and I'm refiling because there's still work to do. Not only our housing demographics are shifting, and Boston is losing its population of color, especially when folks are looking to buy their first homes, but discrimination in lending and appraisals also accounts for one of the largest barriers to home ownership and wealth building for communities of color. We had a great hearing where we discussed the challenges for people trying to buy a home today and securing the financing to do so. Reflects our history of racial disparities in mortgage lending, i.e. redlining, and can be traced back to the pernicious problem of structural racism. The hearing went over recent reports that found Black and Latino loan applicants were more likely to be denied, even when adjusting for a borrower's income, debt, and other factors. While federal and state law prohibit discrimination in the sale of housing by property owners, mortgage lenders, real estate agents, and appraisers, the Boston City Council must continue to hold hearings on this topic to discuss further strategies to combat discrimination in lending and appraisals.
Thank you, Councilor Louis Jen. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Please add Councilor Coletta, Councilor Durkin, Councilor Fitzgerald, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Pepin, Councilor Santana, Councilor Weber, and please add Councilor Worrell. Thank you. Docket number 0195 will be referred to the Committee on Civil Rights, Racial Equity, and Immigrant Advancement. Mr. Clerk, could you please read docket number 0196?
Docket number 0196, Councilors Coletta and Louisiana offer the following. Order for a hearing regarding menstrual product accessibility in the City of Boston.
Thank you. The Chair recognizes Councilor Coletta. Councilor, you have the floor.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'm hoping to add Councilor Durkin, suspend Rule 12, I think, and add Councilor Durkin.
Seeing here no objection, Councilor Durkin shall be added.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. Again, yes, everybody, we're talking about periods. If you are uncomfortable, that's okay. We are here to assist with that and to help folks understand just how important this initiative is. This topic may require levity, but it is a very serious issue. Half of our population menstruates, and yet due to higher costs, monthly expenses, closures of stores like CVS and Walgreens in Black and brown communities, access to these products is increasingly out of reach. According to a 2021 study published by Boston Medical Center Women's Magazine, Women's Health Journal, many can't afford products to meet their monthly needs, and the study found that this impacts Black and brown individuals at a higher rate. Women and girls miss days of work and school if they can't afford these products. I do want to shout out the Office of Women's Advancement. In partnership with them, we were able to secure money for a pilot program that got menstrual product vending machines into various branches of the Boston Public Library, which was wildly successful. And so I believe that this conversation deserves more resources, so that's why I'm bringing it to the floor and filing it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone else like to add their name? Please add Councilor Braden, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, Councilor Fitzgerald, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Pepin, Councilor Santana, Councilor Weber, and please add the Chair. Thank you. Docket number 0196 will be referred to the Committee on Public Health, Homelessness, and Recovery. Mr. Clerk, could you please read docket number 0197?
Docket number 0197, Councilors Louisiana and Coletta offer the following. Order for a hearing to address the mental health needs of our students with a focus on guidance counselors.
Thank you. The Chair recognizes Councilor Louis Jen. Councilor, you have the floor.
Thank you. I would like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Fernandez-Anderson as an original third co-sponsor.
Seeing and hearing no objection, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson shall be added.
Thank you. This is a refile. I'm eager to have this hearing to make the case for the critical connection of guidance counselors between ensuring our students' mental health and behavioral health with their academic success. During and after the pandemic, there was and continues to be a marked increase in students struggling with mental health issues, including anxiety and depression. Using COVID relief funds, BPS was able to hire and support more counselors in addressing the trauma and mental health needs of our students. However, BPS needs to continue to engage in open, honest, and difficult conversations around creating budget priorities for our counselors and support staff who are needed to ensure our students can thrive at school. For me, my guidance counselor was transformative. As a daughter of parents who did not go to college, not only did my guidance counselor help me with navigating what life would look like, affirming for me that college could be a possibility, but also helping me with all of the issues that young people face as teenagers. And when you talk to any of the guidance counselors who won Guidance Counselor of the Year, last year it was Mrs. E at Boston Latin School, shout out to Mrs. E, they will tell you that one of the ways that we help our students to deal with the trauma that they walk into school with every day is by giving more guidance counselors so they can meet the needs and really be the triage point for our students. So I'm really looking forward to having this hearing. I've been doing having a lot of conversations with folks who are in this area and looking forward to the participation of my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Louis Jen. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to Madam Councilor President and Councilor Coletta for adding me. I think that the one caveat or one addition to this that I would like to bring to the conversation is services without diagnosis. In order for any mental health services to be rendered, you have to deem it medically necessary. The issue there is that you have to diagnose a child and connect it to their insurance. So oftentimes guidance counselor may triage, for lack of better words, the situation and then connect to some sort of outside services. Then the school-based counselor or therapeutic mentor will come in, and that mentor also has to be under the umbrella of an intensive care coordinator or an in-home or outpatient therapist. That means that this child now has a diagnosis. Oftentimes, clinicians are burdened and overwhelmed, and that assessment period happens all too quickly. Now, a CANS or a full comprehensive assessment is supposed to take about an hour and a half in total to 2 hours. You can bill it that way, but then it actually ends up being about just maybe 30 minutes, which in my opinion, in my experience, not sufficient to diagnose. So oftentimes leading children to be misdiagnosed or overdiagnosed with harsh diagnosis. And there are things in the insurance like an NOS, depressive NOS, which is circumstantial to the situation at hand, but still a diagnosis. So I think that we should be thinking about paying for services at least for 3 months just to assess the situation. Your child is now homeless, that's circumstantial, that is temporary. That means that their behavior is conditional upon whatever's happening. And 3 months later, that behavior could change. That child doesn't deserve a disorder diagnosis. That's the risk that we take, and I think that there's some risk here for prison pipeline. Where we often just diagnosing black and brown kids in schools, and then now say they get in trouble years down the line, and they've been diagnosed with something like opposition defiant disorder. Then that judge or that lawyer or whomever is looking at it and saying, look, they're defiant, they don't even know how to follow rules. Or leading to them, precluding them from getting jobs or certain types of careers in the future. So we do have to be super careful. I really appreciate this because guidance counselors are guardian angels in schools, and looking forward to working with Madam President and as well as Councilor Coletta on this, just so we can have a more dynamic and robust conversation about mental health as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson. Councilor Mejia, the floor is yours.
Thank you. And I just want to thank my colleagues for their leadership in this space. I really do echo President Council Louis Jen's comments in regards to the vital role that guidance counselors play. My guidance counselor, shout out to Kathy Guerin, who is still in BPS, would take me, I used to skip school to work. And I remember one afternoon she went to the shoe store where I was working instead of being in school and brought me back to school. And I think that in many ways she helped interrupt my entire cycle of poverty because she always stood on making sure that I showed up for school as someone who was chronically absent too. So shout out to the guidance counselors. And as I continue to talk about this conversation in regards to mental health, you know, especially post-COVID, we have seen a lot of our young people suffering in silence. And I think, you know, going back to this whole idea of what Counselor Anderson talked about in terms of how people get diagnosed, and I've been very open about my own attempt of suicide when I was a kid. One of the things that my mom said is that don't tell anyone, because if you did, then you will never get a job in America. And the fact that that was the messaging that I received about what being someone who was struggling with my own mental health, what would it mean for my ability to work, was just crazy. But I remember that being the message, and I think that that's still very much part of the stigma that exists here in our Boston Public Schools. And then more immediate, my daughter attends a Boston Public School. There was a gun scare at her school recently, and she was traumatized by that. And I think as we continue to have these conversations, it was the first time ever that my daughter was in bed by 9 o'clock. And I have seen the shift in her behavior and her ability to feel safe at her school. And I think the growing fear of just your own safety, I think, is something that we should definitely lean into. And I think that guidance counselors should not be burdened with trying to be all things to everybody. And so making those investments and making sure that we're separating the conversations between what guidance counselors traditionally do and making sure that we are providing skilled clinicians in our Boston Public Schools to help support the social and emotional and mental well-being of our students is a part of that conversation. And lastly, I'll just say that this is the second year in a row our office has been partnering with Black clinicians across the city of Boston, and we've been working with the Burke. And we hope that we will inspire young people to choose this as a career so that we can build the pipeline for more young people entering this as a field. And so really excited about the partnership that our school has, our office has partnered up with the Burke to really create a model in which I hope the city will eventually adopt and own. But until then, we have to find our own resources to make it happen. So really excited about the conversation and looking forward to supporting my colleague shepherd this through the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. Councilor Murphy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this forward. And also, as a teacher in an elementary school, our experience with guidance counselors at the high school level is very different. And thank you for uplifting the amazing work they do. But at the elementary and middle school level, their job description is very different. It's solely to administer special education testing to determine IEP determination eligibility. So thank you, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, for uplifting. We talk a lot about mental health and wanting to, speak it and have it be okay, but at the same time, we do have to worry about the overdiagnosis dilemma that we have here in the city of Boston. So I just ask that my sponsors here, the colleagues, that we include the B2U, because this will be a job description change. And thank you, Councilor Mejia, for also speaking about making sure we're not expecting the guidance counselors to do everything. So if they are going to do more than the testing, which I know one guidance counselor is assigned to hundreds of students in trying to just keep up with the testing alone. So I do think it's important that we have the B2U here to make sure that we are not overburdening and then not allowing them to do their job effectively. But looking forward to the conversation, knowing that we do need to have more guidance counselors and social workers in our schools for our students and our teachers. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Murphy. Councilor Durkin, the floor is yours.
I thank my colleagues so much for championing mental health, and it was exciting to see in today's agenda multiple references to mental health, and it just shows as a council we are taking the issue of mental health in the various departments and areas where we can focus very seriously. Just wanted to share, I spoke at the Boston University SPI-SOP first year student orientation to over 600 students, and I thought about what I should talk about, and and I thought there would be interest in mental health, And I remember talking about my own family's experience with mental health and having young people who are just, their first year in college. It was like an uproar of like, we're so excited you're working on this. And so when we talk about BPS and when we talk about what was needed for students, the culture shift that's needed and the end of stigma is needed for adults. Young people understand, and they've made they understand the end of mental health stigma. We're in a different, and what I realized is millennials compared to and up are really the work that needs to be done there. So I'm so excited to hear this about this. And when I met with Superintendent Skipper, I shared my very own personal story and family story with mental illness. And she was so welcoming and interested in work on this issue within BPS. And there were a couple different layers of interest for her. So I'm excited to bring some of those things that we talked about into this hearing, and I'm really grateful to my colleagues for all their championing of mental health, and excited to work on this with you.
Thank you, Councilor Durkin. Is anyone else looking to speak? Just want to say thank you to all my colleagues for sharing. We heard from my colleagues that people are policy, so making sure that we're investing into serving the whole person is so important. So just want to say thank you to all my colleagues for prioritizing mental health. Thank you. Docket number 0195 will be referred to the committee. Oh yes, folks, sorry. Would anyone like to add their name? Councilor Braden, Councilor Durkin, Councilor Fitzgerald. 0197, yes. Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Pepin, Councilor Santana, Councilor Weber, and please add Councilor Worrell. Docket number 0197 will refer to the Committee on Education. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0198?
Docket number 0198, Councilors Coletta and Flynn offer the following. Order for a hearing regarding technological infrastructure improvements across city departments.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Councilor Coletta.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. This is a refile-ish, but it's really an amalgamation of two hearing orders that I filed last year into one particular focus on technological infrastructure systems here in the city of Boston. I will admit this is a tough issue to articulate to the public and why it's so important to invest city resources in this space, because it's not fully present in front of us, but it is so important. I want to give a shout out to the Do It department, CIO Santi and his chief Alejandro. They are working on this. So what I'm about to say is not a reflection of their efforts, please, but what I have been saying in conversations with the public and people in the administration is that I've likened our software programs that we use in BTD or Public Works or ISD and just in general our technological infrastructure systems as a flip phone. It's as modern as a flip phone in an age where we're using iPhones. So hopefully that can provide a visual to you all of how much work we truly need to do. Last year, we were able to secure some resources to hire a full-time employee to work on this and to ensure that all of our systems are talking to one another. First and foremost, this is a cybersecurity issue, and so we need to be careful with the information that we have as a city and how we're sharing it, but then also this will allow us to serve our constituents better. We're all in the business of customer service, and in order for our departments to be more efficient and effective, it allows for all of us to do our jobs well. So I'm refiling this in hopes that we could have more conversations and more investments in this coming fiscal year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta. Would anyone else like to speak on the matter? Would anyone like to add their name? Oh, sorry. Councilor Braden, the floor is yours.
I'll keep it very brief. We could get very nerdy on this very quickly. I think the technological infrastructure is critically important to helping our city departments be more effective, to communicate through shared data, to enforce regulations, and to hold one area, particularly we've been looking at, is just a scofflaw to hold landlords accountable for poor living conditions and code violations. And because we have an adequate technological infrastructure, we can't track these violations and attach even just something as simple as knowing who the real owner of the property is and how to attach liens or fines to that owner. So we have a lot of work to do. I think it's a work in progress, and I really want to applaud the Do It department for all the great work that they're doing, but it is a work in progress and we have so much more to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Braden. Would anyone else like to speak on the matter? Would anyone like to, Councilor Durkin, the floor is yours.
I just wanted to thank Councillor Coletta and Councillor Flynn for championing this. It's so important. And obviously, we have so many different city departments, and they're all at different levels. So, for instance, the Bloomberg Philanthropies What City Works certification is being announced, that the city has achieved gold. So while some departments are living in like 1970, others are living in the 21st century. So just wanted to acknowledge with that same dichotomy that Councillor Coletta described. Some people are light years in the future and others departments are not. And so this is a really important conversation to have, to make sure that every cabinet and every city department has access to that level of service that, that our city should provide.
All right. Would anyone like to add their name? Please add Councilor Braden, Councilor Durkin, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Pepin, Councilor Santana, Councilor Weber, Madam President Louis Jen, and Councilor Fitzgerald. And please add Councilor Worrell. Docket number 0198 will refer to the Committee on City Services and Innovation Technology. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket 0199?
Docket number 0199, Councilors Louisiana and Fernandez-Anderson offer the following. Order for a hearing to explore municipal bonds and other fiscal options to increase affordable housing, school buildings, and community investments.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Madam President Louis Jen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a refile, and one of the first hearings I held as a city councilor. It's important to me that we continue the conversation because the city continues to be rapidly retiring debt, representing an opportunity to leverage the city's strong fiscal position to address expanding support for long-term city goals. We must explore our capacity to discuss cost-effective strategies to help increase the supply of affordable housing, school buildings, and green infrastructure projects. I want to commend the administration. This work is already being done, leaning into our fiscal strength. We must leverage our fiscal prosperity for shared prosperity as a means to an end, especially for those who have been historically excluded from experiencing the benefits of the city as well. So I look forward to continuing this conversation with the administration and working with my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone like to add their name? Please add Councilor Braden, Councilor Coletta, Councilor Durkin, Councilor Fitzgerald, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Pepin, Councilor Santana, Councilor Weber, and please add Councilor Worrell. Docket number 0199 will be referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. The chair recognizes Councilor Coletta.
I'm sorry, I'm wondering if we could go back to docket 0198 so I can suspend Rule 12 and add Councilor Braden.
Seeing no objections, Councilor Braden will be added
Thank you.
To docket number 0198 as original co-sponsor. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0200?
Docket number 0200, Councilors Louisiana and Worrell offer the following. Order for a hearing on the civil rights and liberties of returning citizens and re-entry into their Boston communities.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Madam President Louis Jen.
Thank you. This is a...
Sorry.
That's fine. It's hard. Thank you. This is a refile, and we held a hearing with returning citizens really leading the helm in 2022. That led to a successful fiscal year 23 budget push that helped to fully fund, staff, and revitalize the Office of Returning Citizens and create grant opportunities for communities and people and organizations that have never really accessed city resources. So I want to thank my colleagues who were here last term who helped me champion this issue. I'd also like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Fernandez-Anderson as an original co-sponsor, as she was last term as well. The challenges still faced by our returning citizens and their successful reintegration into our communities is ongoing. These individuals, many of whom are disproportionately from communities that have been denied access to city government face barriers that extend far beyond their sentences. They grapple with financial burdens like probation fees, the daunting task of finding housing and employment, and crucially, information about their fundamental rights, including the right to vote. A measure of our society lies in how we treat those who have served their time in striving to re-enter society. It is our responsibility to ensure that they are met not with barriers, but with open doors to opportunity. Our goal must be not to only welcome them back, but now we have to empower them. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? As an original co-sponsor, I'll share a few words. I just want to thank Madam President Louis Jen for your dedication to our justice-involved community members and for including me on this hearing. Transitioning back to our community is challenging in the best cases. It is our duty to ensure that that everyone that's coming back to our community are properly supported, know their rights, and are prepared to successfully rejoin their communities. From expanded state programs to assure all justice-involved citizens have proper identification, to provide educational and emotional interventions to helping folks get back on their feet financially. I'm excited to continue this conversation about how we can help serve our most vulnerable population. The docket number 0200, would anyone like to add their name? Please add Councilor Braden, Councilor Coletta, Councilor Durkin, Councilor Fitzgerald, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Pepin, Councilor Santana, and Councilor Weber. Thank you. Docket number 0200 will refer to the Committee on Civil Rights, Racial Equity, and Immigrant Advancement. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0201?
Docket number 0201, Councilor Louis Jen offer the following. Order for a hearing on ways to increase trash pickup for large buildings. That's what we would want.
But I'll speak on
The chair recognizes Madam President Louis Jen.
Thank you, Vice President and Clerk. Let them this be an example that this body is one of rules and they apply equally to all of us. Rule 15, which states allows that two dockets that are of similar in nature, the first one takes precedent, and Councilor Durkin filed hers on trash. They're similar enough for there to be one that controls, and so yours controls. And because of Councilor Flynn's absence, you were able to add me as a third co-sponsor, and I appreciate that. Otherwise, I would not have, but I would have continued in doing the work, because as I think everyone vocalized and everyone stated, the issue of trash collection and affirming the dignity of all of our residents in every neighborhood is really important. So I want to thank again Councilor Durkin for adding me as a third co-sponsor, and really looking forward to this hearing to uplift the work that my office has been doing in partnership with so many councilors, including Councilor Fernandez Anderson. But pursuant to Rule 15, I must withdraw docket number 0201.
Thank you, Madam President. Docket number 0201 will be removed from the agenda. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0202?
Docket number 0202, Councilor Louis Jen offer the following. Order for a hearing on addressing and improving fair housing practices in the city of Boston.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Madam President Louis Jen. Madam President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to add Vice President Worrell as an original co-sponsor.
Seeing no objections, Councilor Worrell will be added as an original co-sponsor.
Thank you. This is technically not a refile, as I've filed fair housing resolutions, and most of my fair housing advocacy and committee work has been on the home ownership and lending side of fair housing. However, this topic in and of itself merits further study and hearings, especially because we have an office here in City Hall dedicated to this issue. Our city demands a proactive approach to address the lingering effects of past racist housing practices and prevent ongoing discriminatory practices. We need a strategic approach that links housing supply efforts with the principles of affirmatively furthering fair housing, which this council, which predating me, was very active about. Further, we have to ensure that new housing developments and policies are assessed through the lens of promoting diversity and preventing discrimination. Despite existing laws, discrimination persists, affecting marginalized communities the most, and we stand in the light of the Civil Rights Act of 1968. And we must recognize that these ongoing challenges in ensuring equality and justice apply to all types of housing. I want to uplift the work of Bob Terrell, the executive director of our office here of Fair Housing, for the incredible work and the incredible experience he brings to this. Through the last year's budget process, we were able to get more housing testers, and I'm excited, and we saw grants come through from the federal government to give us more support for more fair housing testers to prevent discrimination, but there's still more work to do both in the budget process and outside the budget process to make this a more robust effort on the city's part. So looking forward to this conversation alongside you, Vice President Morrell.
Thank you, Madam President. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? As original co-sponsor, I just want to thank Madam President Louis Jen for your leadership in this. And as someone who has real estate experience, I could tell you from experience that the effects of redlining are still being felt here in Boston. And we need to do everything on our end to ensure that current discrimination and housing opportunities for residents and contractors are shared equitably and transparently. So definitely looking forward to this conversation with you, Councilor, Madam President Louis Jen. Would anyone like to add their name? Oh, sorry. Floor is yours. Madam President, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Apologies. While I added you, I forgot to request that we suspend the rules so that I can add Councilor Braden as an original co-sponsor.
Seeing and hearing no objection, Councilor Braden will be added as an original co-sponsor. Councilor Braden, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Council President Louis Jen, for including me as a co-sponsor. Fair housing laws are important tools to ensure equity and social progress in both correcting the wrongs of the past and reimagining a more equitable future for our families and communities across the City of Boston. As with all government programmes and policies, frequent assessments are necessary to identify areas of improvement and target areas that may have become less of a priority, such as rigorous enforcement action. In addition to correcting our affordable housing, increasing our affordable housing stock, which is something we all work towards every day, we must ensure that the existing housing market is fair, accessible and free of discrimination for all of our residents. And I look forward to working together with you all on this conversation going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Braden. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? Would anyone like to add their name? Please add Councilor Coletta, Councilor Durkin, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, Councilor Fitzgerald, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Pepin, Councilor Santana, Councilor Weber. Docket number 0202 will be referred to the Committee on Housing and Community Development. Mr. Clerk, could you please read docket number 0203?
Docket number 0203, Councilors Louis Jen and Fernandez-Anderson offer the following. Order for a hearing regarding the state of anti-displacement as to Boston's Acquisition Opportunity Program.
Thank you. The Chair recognizes Madam President Louis Jen. Madam President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Vice President. I would like to suspend the rules and add Councilor Braden as an original third co-sponsor.
Seeing and hearing no objection, Councilor Braden shall be added as original co-sponsor.
Thank you. This is a refile, and we had a great hearing last year on Boston's Acquisition Opportunity Program, one of my favorite city programs. I think it's just really phenomenal, and how it works to combat displacement and reclaim affordable housing. Since its inception, AOP has been a key instrument in helping mission-driven organizations acquire multifamily properties, ensuring that our residents, especially those vulnerable to gentrification, can continue to call Boston their home. During the last two budget cycles, my office has pushed hard to utilize ARPA funds for AOP, and the city has responded in kind, investing over $48 million to help buyers of unsubsidized housing purchase properties, income restricted, and thus provide an opportunity to both save existing tenancies from displacement and create long-term affordable housing. It is being at a ribbon cutting for an AOP funded project. There's nothing like it because it really helps to stabilize families and communities. With a significant portion of our population rent burdened and facing housing insecurity, the need for effective anti-displacement strategies is more urgent than ever. We have to reflect on the successes and learning of AOP and turn our attention to the future of how we can strengthen and so improve this critical program. We had a lunch and learn last year with Community Land Trust. They're trying to bring this to a statewide model given the success on the city level, but we know with rising interest rates and labor costs, it's even more difficult for them to compete on the private market to purchase properties that already have tenants in them. So I want to make sure that we continue supporting AOP and working with our partners to make it, to continue it as a success that it can and to try to compete with what's happening in the speculative market. So thank you, Councilor Ora.
Thank you, Madam President. Would anyone else like to speak on this matter? Councilor Braden, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm really excited to lend my name to this hearing, and thank you, Councillor Louis-Jean, for including me. The Acquisition Opportunity Programme has been an incredible resource to help take rental properties off the speculative market so that we can preserve our housing stock for low and moderate income residents in the city. We've heard recently in the recent study that 20% of homes bought in the state of Massachusetts in the past period of time were bought by private equity companies, private equity groups, taken out of the market, and then proceeded to be rented. And this is an incredible commodification of our housing stock, and it's very detrimental to our communities and the long-term stability of our communities, so that families who want to stay and live in the city of Boston are priced out by buyers who come in and drop cash and exclude our families from buying homes in the city. We should sustain and expand the tools like the Acquisition Opportunity Programme that help facilitate acquisition and preservation of our affordable housing stock through innovative solutions. And then the other tool that we have is the Tenant Opportunity to Purchase. And all of these tools are just something that's so essential to try and stem the tide and ensure that working families can continue to live in the city of Boston. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Braden. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? I'll just share a few words. I think the AOP program is a great program, and it's one way that we can fight displacement. What I would like to see in this hearing is seeing if we can expand it to, possibly talking about purchasing single families and condos, because the fight there in the speculative market is also happening as well. So looking forward to these conversations, and thank you to Councilor Braden and Madam President Louis-Jean for your leadership on this. Would anyone like to add their name? Please add Councilor Coletta, Councilor Durkin, Councilor Fitzgerald, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Pepin, Councilor Santana, Councilor Weber, and please add Councilor Worrell. Docket number 0203 will be referred to the Committee on Housing and Community Development. Mr. Clerk, would you please read docket number 0204?
Docket number 0204, Councilors Louis-Jean and Coletta offer the following. Order for a hearing on the needs and services of recent migrant populations.
The Chair recognizes Madam President Louis-Jean. Madam President, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to suspend the rules to add Councilor Fernandez-Anderson as an original third co-sponsor.
Seeing and hearing no objection, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson will be added as an original co-sponsor.
Thank you. This is a refile, but the substance of this hearing order has changed given that the situation has evolved. Our city continues to be a beacon of hope for so many, and despite our efforts, our shelter system is experiencing great strain with families, including vulnerable children and other populations being turned away. This crisis calls for a collective response along our city, alongside state and federal partners, must enhance our emergency assistance systems, providing and advocating for humane immigration policies. We have to work with our community and government partners, and I want to thank the governor, the lieutenant governor for their work and their commitment, and want to thank this administration, and particularly the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Advancement, which has always been working hard, staffing up, and funding grant awards to increase access to legal services, expand support for Citizenship Day, that Councilor Worrell, that you and I partnered on, and the list goes on. By supporting these new arrivals, not only do we uphold our values, but also help to enrich the vibrant tapestry of our city and help deal with shortages in our labor in our workforce, which is more apparent every day as we talk about the issues that especially our healthcare system is facing. So thank you, and I look forward to this continued conversation.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilor Fernandez-Anderson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Madam President, for adding me, and I look forward to working with you and Councilor Coletta. We need to do everything that we can for the migrant population in our midst. I'd like to actually offer my gratitude and big shout out to our Governor, Maura Healey, who in my opinion, is doing tremendous work on this to handle the issues, and particularly in District 7. I've actually had the opportunity to collaborate with Madam President Liu Zhen to do some work around the hotels with the migrants, and the issues are severe. No one chooses to make a decision to leave their country of origin lightly. These are people who have had to show tremendous courage and have faced adversity that many can only imagine. And all too often, they are scapegoated and blamed for things that they are not guilty of. In truth, they are victims of political and economic elites that not the victimizers that the bigoted among us would like us to believe. We need to do better by these folks, whether in the way of temporary shelter, access to resources like jobs and education, or even just a warm smile and acknowledgement that they too are citizens of this earth. And I'd like to shout out the AFAB, a Haitian organization that have been in collaboration with us. Madam Council President, thank you so much for collaborating with us with our listening sessions. And I look forward to continue to work. Shout out to also WORK, which is located in Nubian Square, who've been doing tremendous work in finding folks jobs, but need resources to be able to better address the needs of our migrant population in District 7, but all of Boston. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez-Anderson. Councilor Mejia, you have the floor.
Thank you. I'm just really excited that we're going to be able to continue this conversation. I want to thank Councilor Liu Zhen for her leadership in this space. I also just want to uplift that there are a number of nonprofit organizations who are also standing in to fill in the gap. Really excited to be partnering alongside the Voices of the Gospel Tabernacle Church. Our office has been working in deep community with them, not only on shelter, but also providing some programming because our students are coming here. We're expecting them to just transition into Boston Public Schools, and they are carrying trauma in their backpacks, interrupted education, and so building a pipeline to ensuring that we're supporting their academic needs. So I'm really looking forward to figuring out the role that nonprofit organizations are playing and what we can be doing to helping them meet the needs that oftentimes the city is falling short because we don't have the resources. So I think there is an opportunity here to invite some folks who are doing the work in this space and hearing from them what more we could be doing both here in the city and also in our Boston Public Schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Mejia. Councilor Coletta, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. I'll just quickly rise to call out the fact that I've met with a couple of the contracted nonprofits in my district, NOAA in particular, and received word from them that they are at max capacity in terms of resources that they get from the City of Boston. So something to consider as we move forward through the budget process. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Coletta. Councilor Braden, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd also like to stand and call out the work of the Brazilian Workers Centre in Alston, which acts as a welcome centre for migrants, for recent migrants, and also the work of the Alston Brighton Adult Education Coalition that's working diligently to try and provide English classes, survival English and English classes for new arrivals so that they can be able to start to begin to navigate all of our communities and get access to and increase their opportunities for employment in the city. So all of us, there's lots of non-profit organisations, too many to mention, who are working diligently to try and support these migrant populations as they arrive in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Braden. Is anyone else looking to speak on this matter? Would anyone like to add their name? Please add Councilor Braden, Councilor Durkin, Councilor Fitzgerald, Councilor Mejia, Councilor Murphy, Councilor Pepin, Councilor Santana, Councilor Weber, and please add Councilor Worrell. Docket number 0204 will refer to the Committee on Civil Rights, Racial Equity, and Immigrant Advancement.
Thank you, Vice President Worrell, for covering so much of that, and you did a great job. Mr. Clerk, can you please read docket number 0205?
Docket number 0205, Councilor Braden offered the following. Order requesting certain information under Section 17F relative to Boston Emergency Medical Services response times.
Councilor Braden, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Boston EMS is the largest municipal EMS in New England and plays a critical role in our emergency preparedness efforts. Boston has to submit a service zone plan for approval by the State Department of Public Health that defines local resources and establishes target response times for each type of response priority level. However, as our population grows, we should adequately assess and address current and future public service capacity needs. This includes analysing emergency medical services response times. I'm asking Boston EMS to provide detailed data at the neighbourhood level, the vital statistics reports from 2022 and 2023, total incidents and response times by priority level and neighbourhood, and total incidents and response times for advanced life support paramedics by neighbourhood. I move to suspend for suspension and passage of this order today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Braden seeks suspension of the rules and passage of docket number 0205. All those in favour say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. This docket number 0205 has passed. We are now moving on to personnel orders. Mr. Clerk, can you please read the personnel orders into the record?
Personnel orders, docket number 0206, Council Louisiana Office Personnel Order. Docket number 0207, Council Louisiana Central Staff Personnel Order. Docket number 0208, Council Louisiana for Councilor Durkin Personnel Order. Docket number 0209, Council Louisiana for Councilor Durkin Personnel Order. Docket number 0210, Council Louisiana for Councilor Braden Personnel Order. Docket number 0211, Councilor Louisiana for Councilor Mejia Personnel Order. Docket number 0212, Councilor Louisiana for Councilor Mejia Personnel Order. Docket number 0213, Councilor Louisiana for Councilor Weber Personnel Order. Docket number 0214, Councilor Louisiana for Councilor Satana Personnel Order. Docket number 0215, Councilor Louisiana for Councilor Pepin Personnel Order. Docket number 0216, Councilor Louisiana for Councilor Murphy Personnel Order. And docket number 0217, Councilor Louisiana for Councilor Fitzgerald Personnel Order.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. The chair seeks passage of these personnel orders. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The personnel orders have been passed. We are now moving on to late files. Mr. Clerk, are there any late files?
Yes.
There are. Okay.
It's 9 late files.
Okay. A note just regarding late files. Late files will not be accepted unless in accordance with the rules, which state the rules may be suspended to introduce a matter on the day of a meeting only in the case of an order or ordinance vote or other measure submitted by the mayor or by a councillor calling for action by the council containing an emergency declaration that it is an emergency, namely that which imposes an imminent threat to the public health, safety, and welfare to the residents of Boston. Now, for personnel orders and for in absence letters, that does not apply, but it is really difficult for central staff and for the clerk's office when we have a bunch of substantive late files. So just wanted to get that on the record, that it is important for us to try our best to avoid late files and do so only when in an emergency situation. Mr. Clerk, will you please read the late files?
There are 7 late files personnel orders. Councilor Louisiana for Councilor Braden.
Okay. Individual. Thank you. I am informed.
I only have 7.
7 personnel orders. Okay. Thank you. I am informed by the clerk that there are a total of 9 personnel orders, and we're just confirming to make sure that is the case. 7 personnel orders and 1 absence letter and 1 confirmation letter. So we'll take a vote to add these matters to the agenda. All of those in favor of adding the late file matters to the agenda, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Thank you. The late file matters have been added to the agenda. Mr. Clerk, please read the first late file matter into the record. Okay.
Absence letter filed by Boston City Councilor Ed Flynn. Dear Mr. Clerk and council colleagues, please be advised that I'm unable to attend today's City Council meeting. Please note I'm traveling on a trip to Israel with leaders throughout the United States. My staff will be in attendance and I will review the tape of the meeting when it becomes available. Sincerely, Councilor Flynn.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Please read the second late file matter. That will be placed on file. Please read the second late file matter into the record.
Second matter is message in order for the confirmation of the renewal appointment for Ron Cobb as a constable authorized to serve civil process upon the filing of his bond for a period of 3 years commencing May 1st, 2023 through April 30th, 2026.
Thank you. The rules are suspended. Okay. Hearing no objection, the rules are suspended and the appointment is confirmed. Oh, okay. All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, say nay. The appointment is confirmed. Mr. Clerk, please read the next late file matter into the record.
The next filed matters are all personnel orders. The first personnel order, Councilor Louisiane for Councilor Braden.
No. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. The personnel order has passed.
Second personnel order, Councilor Louisiane for Councilor Braden.
All those in favor of passage of the personnel order, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. This personnel order has passed. Mr. Clerk, please read the next late file matter.
Councilor Louisiane for Councilor Durkin.
All those in favor of this personnel order, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. This docket is passed.
Councilor Louisiane for Councilor Mejia.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. This docket is passed.
Councilor Louisiane for Councilor Mejia.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. This docket is passed.
Councilor Louisiane for Councilor Mejia.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. This docket is passed.
And Councilor Louisiane for Councilor Worrell.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. That docket is passed. We are now moving on to the consent agenda. I've been informed by the clerk that there are 0 additions to the consent agenda. The question now comes on the approval of the various matters contained within the consent agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Thank you. The consent agenda has been adopted. We are now moving on to announcements. I'd first like to say a very happy birthday to our colleagues and council staff who have celebrated their birthday so far. Councilor Julia Mejia, Councilor Tanya Fernandes-Anderson, Councilor Liz Braden, and staffers as well. Sophie Daly in Councilor Braden's office, Moira in Councilor Braden's office, Arnita, and Emily in my office. So happy birthday to all of our January birthdays so far. I also wanted to make an announcement that I had a meeting recently with Mothers Out Front, and through our conversation we discussed the Boston Community Choice Electricity Program and how it can save the average household hundreds of dollars a year on energy costs, and you can opt in to 100% renewable energy. So for anyone listening, for more information, please check out boston.gov/energy. I also want to say a thank you to Casey Williams, who designed most of the artwork that my colleagues see of Jamaica Plain, for the artwork that you have on your desks. And last week, our last meeting, we did not take a council group photo, so I am asking my colleagues if we could now come up to take a council group photo. We can do it again, then. Let's do one. Thank you. Oh, sure, yes.
These look good together.
Thank you.
It is tradition to get one of all the women as well, too.
Oh,
And all the
yes.
women up
Okay.
here.
All right,
Can we
let's
ask
do
them to
it.
do that as well?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the picture right there. Thank you.
I have to say, you guys are all wearing like the same thing. You need a picture.
Oh, okay, my bad.
New tradition. New tradition. You smiling, there's no smile. Like there's a little bit more fanfare with that.
Thank you. We didn't do it the first meeting, so I wanted to make sure we got it done today. Do any of my council colleagues have any announcements? Councilor Fernandez Anderson, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I actually have, well, I guess it's for more of a memorial, but I wanted to just ask you to pray. I can't mention his name because he's extremely private, but a dear constituent of mine in South End, mom passed away in the last a few days ago. So just asking my colleagues to send out prayers to my constituent, and again, just respecting his privacy. I love him dearly and have gotten to know him. He's extremely altruistic. Everyone here knows him, but again, he's super private, but it's the intention in your heart and in the prayer, so it doesn't matter if you don't know his name, but that you send out positive energy, and I know that he knows who I'm talking about, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. And he's in our prayers. Councilor Orell, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to rise to wish my son, Elias, happy birthday. His first birthday was on January 20th. Yeah, and hearing everyone else's birthday who's in January, I know he's in good company. But just want to say happy birthday, Elias. Dada loves you.
Thank you, Councilor Orell, and happy birthday to the cutest baby ever, Elias Bora. The chair recognizes Councilor Fernandez Anderson.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilor Morell.
Oh, apologies. Oh.
Thank you, Madam President. Councilor Morell reminded me that Aquarius babies are the best ever. And yesterday was my oldest son's birthday. So shout out to Louis. I love you dearly. I call him my stunka. And I know he's going to kill me for that, but love you dearly. And I couldn't ask for a better son This kid is absolutely amazing. And as I always say, I'm a proud mother of a U.S. Marine. And I stand here proud to say, like, my son is 25 and he's my best friend. We do everything together, from working out, well, not working out anymore, but we used to work out, to cooking together. Both of my sons are completely independent, and I'm just so proud to say that I am his mother. And honestly, I said it last year about my other son. I don't know where these kids come from. They just kind of like land in my laps, amazing human beings, and I'm just so extremely proud of him. Thank you for the reminder. I'm not very good with birthdays. Happy birthday, Louis.
Thank you, Councilor Fernandez Anderson. Your kids are also great. They're awesome. The chair recognizes Councilor Murphy.
You started something, Councilor Worrell. So your beautiful son shares a birthday with my dad. He turned 90 on the 20th, so I do want to wish Papa Jack a happy birthday. Thank you.
Councilor Braden, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Tomorrow is a momentous day in Alston Brighton. We are going to be celebrating the reopening of the Faneuil Branch Library in Oak Square. After a closure, it's been closed for about 2.5 years, 3 years for renovations. We almost lost this library way back in 1989, and we almost lost it again in 2000. We mobilised as a community, we saved it, and now it's completely renovated. A building that was built in the middle of the Great Depression is a beautiful modern facility in Oak Square, and we're very excited. There's a ribbon cutting tomorrow, and there's an open house on Saturday. If anyone's in the neighbourhood, please drop by. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Braden. We are now moving on to memorials. Today, we will adjourn our meeting in memory of the following individuals. For Councillor Braden, Sister Florence Kaler. For Councillor Coletta, Joseph Gigliotti, Frank Marino, Evelyn Matola, Stephen Livingstone, Rita Capuano, Irene Rennie Murphy. For Councillor Durkin, Robert Mann. For Councillor Fitzgerald, Maureen Kenny. For Councillor Flynn, Alana Green. James F. Jim English. Frank J. Drogo Sr., Christopher J. Chambers, Nathan Gage Ingram. For Councillor Weber, Diana Chris Cuolo. For Councillor Worrell, Lucille Holmes. For myself, Kathy McKinnon Foley, Jeffrey Moy, former Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, Eddie Hastings, Jillian Toomey, Rose Ann Duffin Concannon, mother of Brian Concannon, Reverend Paul Ryan. For Councilors Murphy and Fitzgerald, Karen Anastas. For Councilors Weber, Mejia, and myself, Julia K. Fontes Martin. For Councilors Flynn and myself, and Councilor Worrell, Brother Muhammad Ali Salam. For Councilors Durkin, Fitzgerald, Flynn, and myself, Boston Police Officer Pierce Fitzgerald Norton. A moment of silence, please. The chair moves that when the council adjourns today, it does so in memory of the aforementioned individuals. The council is scheduled to meet again in the Ionella Chamber on Wednesday, January 31st, 2024 at noon. All in favor of adjournment, please say aye. Aye. The council is adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.